Welcome to a deadline stream for Game Week 4, and there are so many question marks, including obviously the big one about Ronaldo. Is he going to start? I'll be giving you my opinion, and I'm kind of still going to be maintaining the same belief, but of course, no one knows for sure, and it is a 50-50 kind of question. And of course, if we do get rid of Bruno Fernandes, especially for hits, it could be catastrophic, but there's still a lot to go through. I'll be going through my team. I haven't made any transfers yet, and I might actually leave them for tomorrow. And of course, if I do, I'll keep you guys updated in the community tab on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel, and then you'll be notified of kind of any updates to my team. And thank you everyone who is here. I'll try to go through every single question as always. So if you have any kind of questions, comments, even suggestions, ideas, then just feel free to engage in the live chat and also with the rest of the community. So really appreciate everyone who is here, and yeah, around 150k at the moment, but very early days, so I'm not going to get carried away. A decent start. Let's see what we can do, and remember to smash the like button if you haven't already. Really appreciate it, guys. Anna says, hey Dylan, imagine getting Bruno for Ronaldo for Bruno, -4 hit, then Ronaldo blanks and Bruno gets a double-digit return. That's actually quite likely, to be honest. If Ronaldo doesn't start, then I think Bruno's appeal actually increases significantly. He will be the kind of main man there. So it's definitely possible, and something that I wouldn't say fearful of, but it can happen. Welcome to Undershot Fugu. Nice name. Thank you for joining in. Yoga GG, welcome. Ben Mag says, Bruno has a higher expected points based off betting odds than Ronaldo. Ronaldo will not be in my team. Yeah, it probably is based on the kind of likelihood of starting. Bruno's definitely going to start. With Ronaldo, we just don't know for sure. Just a reminder that Ronaldo didn't score in his first 2 games in Serie A with Juventus. That's a really good point, actually, Anas. And yeah, maybe. The thing is, though, it's just kind of like the return at Old Trafford facing Newcastle. I think that's the kind of key thing. Newcastle in such a bad place. They're without Callum Wilson as well. Of course, that's not going to have too much of an effect defensively on the Toons, but I think Callum Wilson's just such a good player for them. He's the talisman, and for him to be out, I think Newcastle are in even worse of a position than before. So that's a really good point, though, that you mentioned, and something that we should consider. I don't think we have to take a hit, or even, you know, -8s, -12s to get Ronaldo in, and I've always said that. But of course, if he does start, it's just hard to kind of back against him. Already did a -8. Also have Son, DCL, Rafinha. Should I wildcard? Yeah, that's a kind of tough one, Captain Jack. Rafinha, obviously, there's still a slim chance of him and the other Brazilians playing, but they need to find an agreement with the Brazilian Federation, and at this moment in time, it seems unlikely. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's in training, but that doesn't mean that he's definitely going to start. He could just come off the bench, so I can understand your concern there. And then Heung-min Son, he's got a calf injury. Kind of my gut feeling based on what Nuno said and everything that's been kind of spread around. I think Son might miss Game Week 4 actually, not even be in the squad and then come back for Game Week 5. But that's not ideal because that's when the kind of fixtures turn for Spurs. They've got a few tough ones coming up. Game Week 4 is what you want him for. So should you wildcard? You've already taken a -8 and you are thinking of another 3 transfers or more. It's a tough one. There might be a few more kind of updates, I think, at 10:30. I think a few embargoed comments from the managers that haven't been released yet. Of course, all the press conferences are done, so keep an eye on that. But I would actually consider it in that situation. But just kind of for future reference, I'd try to leave the transfers late during an international break. In most circumstances, I think doing early transfers is fine. But when it's an international break, especially with the kind of environment we're living in now, is always kind of a bit of a sticky situation. Yaga says, can someone rate my team? Meslier, Trent, Shaw, Cody, Creswell, Salah, Benrahma, Traore, Torres, Grealish, Antonio, Lukaku. One player needs to be on the bench, which that's a really tough one to kind of say. If I had to pick one player to bench, I actually would consider Cody. The rest looks good though, and I mean you could arguably bench Traore too, but you got him in for a reason. It's a really solid team there. Lukaku captain, yeah, it looks like he's going to start, and that's pretty much what I was saying beforehand, even with the kind of injury doubts surrounding him. If you have him, I would captain him, yeah. Unless you have Salah, that's a bit of a difficult one. It's 50-50, but maybe I'd actually back Lukaku. Good evening, Flying Dutchman. Thank you for joining in. Hello, Dylan, mate. So are we decided on what we're doing yet? Not completely, Josh, to be quite honest. I will show you a lot of my plans in a minute, but they're pretty much the same as they were beforehand. And Ollie's comments didn't help at all. I thought we would get a bit more clarity, but he was being very mischievous, I think, with his comments. And to be honest, I still think Ronaldo might start. That's kind of my personal gut feeling. and if he doesn't, he'll get 30, 40 minutes. Maybe they'll do something similar to what PSG did with Messi, where he comes off the bench and he can make an impact from there. But would you want to take a -4 hit or more to get rid of Bruno, to get Ronaldo in, who's not even going to start? That's kind of the difficult question to answer. Torres or Greenwood? Look, I prefer Greenwood, but then again, that is based on me having him. I'm probably a bit biased there. I think if Ferran Torres can maintain that spot, then he's arguably a better asset than Greenwood. But in this moment in time, I think Greenwood is just more likely to start. Torres has been playing a lot of games for Spain, including 90 minutes on Wednesday. So that's something to think about. And with the Champions League coming into the fray, Torres will either be benched, I say, this weekend or in the Champions League. But it's very hard to tell which one. I don't trust Ronaldo for this week. Salah for captain, even Antonio, Kane or Alba is a better pick, I think. This is the thing, even if I bring Ronaldo in, I'm actually considering to captain Salah regardless, because there's too many question marks surrounding Ronaldo and if he's going to start. So even if I back him to start, it's a bit of a difficult one, so I agree with you. Why Salah over Antonio for captain? That's a good point. Antonio is actually someone that should be captained by more people, and this week he's going to be more of a differential. Most people will be on Ronaldo, Lukaku, Salah, even Kane or Son, and also I'd say Bruno Fernandes. So Antonio is not going to be as heavily captained as last week. He is actually someone to consider. You make a good point, and I might even make him vice-captain or even captain. So that's one thing that can change, but Salah will probably most likely be my captain, and if not, he'll be my vice. Who should I put in my team and who on the bench? Ruben Dias or Bissouma? Oh yeah, I'd definitely start Dias. I know he's got Leicester, but he's just far more likely to get 5-6 points than Bissouma is, so I'd go for Ruben Dias. Marcus says, hi mate, hope you're okay. Been thinking a lot and little at the same time about FPL. I mean, that is a perfect way of summing it up. Have 2 free transfers, but I'm thinking of taking a hit. Can get Ronaldo for free, and the hit is basically Jota versus DCL on DCL right now. Yeah, the kind of only downside to that is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a bit of an injury doubt, and he could at least not start in Game Week 4. I think he'll definitely make the squad, but I'm not sure about him starting. That's the kind of question mark we have. Going forward, though, in Game Week 5, he should be okay. And longer term, I think Calvert-Lewin is a better asset than Diego Jota. So maybe you are making the right decision. It's just with Jota, the appeal is that Firmino's out. A lot of people will be wildcarding in Game Week 7 or 8 if they haven't already. And by that time, maybe Firmino will be back. So Jota is probably an ideal player to have for the next 3 or 4 game weeks. But if you're looking long term, I think you might be, doing the right thing there. Wildcard this week, says her. A team-dependent question ultimately, but I am of the opinion that if you can save it, I would save it until Game Week 7 or 8 at least. You have more data, more information, and that's what I'm probably looking to do. So yeah, it's a good kind of point you raised, but I don't think you have to wildcard this week. Jota's looking very good right now. Very happy to have taken him Game Week 1, even if I didn't get Tsimikas. Yeah, I mean, they pretty much both scored a similar amount of points, but Jota now will continue to start. Tsimikas, that isn't the case. And a lot of people who have Tsimikas, who want to get Jota in, will now have to take a -4. And if I show my team in a second, that's pretty much the predicament I'm in if I want to get Ronaldo in also. DCL, keep or sell? Tough one. If I had him, I probably wouldn't sell him unless you're looking to get Ronaldo or Lukaku in and doing an upgrade that way. But otherwise, I would probably keep him. I think he's the second best option around his price, and I wouldn't sell him unless it's for someone else, a premium. Is Ronaldo going to start this game week? My gut feeling says yes, but then again, I would not be surprised at all if he comes off the bench. If we kind of just look at Ollie's comments objectively, then honestly, I think that he is implying that he's going to be benched and come on for 30, 40 minutes. Of course, the crowd will be there, a warm reception to kind of announce his return, and it could be similar to Messi for PSG when he made his debut. But, kind of excluding what Ollie said, I think he's going to start. But then again, we'll see. His comments have just pretty much done more harm than good when it comes to answering our questions. Ashish says, mate, this is my team. Sanchez, Brandon Williams, Livramento, Trent, Shaw, Tanganga, Salah, Benrahma, Traore, Sarr, Gray, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Dennis. In 3-5-2, Livramento, Williams and Dennis on the bench. Please rate. That's a good team. I'm trying to kind of pick out weaknesses or potential problems. I think Tanganga could be an issue if Emerson Royal starts. I don't think Emerson will start straight away, but I think from Game Weeks 5 or 6 onwards, Tanganga's position in the side could be in jeopardy unless Nuno kind of changes formation. But other than that, it's a good team. You've got Traore and Sarr, probably 2 of the best options around that price. Gray is also probably the best at 5.6, sorry. Ronaldo, Lukaku, you've got 2 great attackers. Dennis is the best kind of cheap forward. I prefer, honestly, in my opinion, having a Torres, a Greenwood, or a Jota instead of one of Traore, Sarr, or Gray. And you've also got Dennis, so that's kind of my opinion on it to improve it. Trying to maybe downgrade one of those players and then upgrade one of the other midfielders to either Jota, Greenwood, or Torres. I'd probably go for Jota at this moment in time, but overall that's a solid squad. Definitely at least an 8 out of 10 if you want me to give a rating. Good to join you guys here. Thank you, Matthew. Really appreciate it. And if you have any comments, feel free to let us know. Already made my moves. 2 free transfers. Bruno and Ings out for Jota and Ronaldo. The decision is whether to captain him or not. Yeah, I mean, go with your gut feeling, honestly. So if you think he's going to start, then he's a great captaincy shout for sure. But if you have a few doubts like I am, then I'd consider captaining Salah or someone else. But those 2 free transfers, I wish I could do it for free. And let me actually show you. So at the moment, Salah is my captain. I might change it to Antonio potentially. Bruno Fernandes, I'm not so sure because Ronaldo could still start and I'm not too keen on Bruno otherwise. I might make transfers like this. So get in a 4.5 to 4.8 million defender to get in get rid of Tsimikas. Get in Jota. Obviously, I have to get rid of Tsimikas because I have too many Liverpool players already, and Ronaldo up front. But because of the kind of possibility of Ronaldo not starting, I might not do it because a -4 hit, yeah, it could be beneficial long term. I think it would be, but I'm just not so sure about that. And I could go to Calvert-Lewin, but the problem I have with that move is that he's an injury doubt himself. I could make that transfer for free, but I don't know. It's kind of a difficult situation. If Calvert-Lewin was definitely fit, then I might actually just do that instead and wait on Ronaldo or Lukaku in game weeks 5, 6 or 7. But at the moment, this is what I could do. Make free transfers and get Marcel, Jota and Ronaldo in for Tsimikas, Bruno Fernandes and Danny Ings. And another possibility actually is to get Ferran Torres and Ronaldo for 2 free transfers and that's it. Or maybe just leave Ronaldo for now and keep Danny Ings or just get another striker. But it's very difficult. And when you look at the striker options, we've got Jimenez, who it looks like he's going to be playing actually. It looks like Wolves and Mexico have come to some sort of agreement. But then you look at the other strikers. Wilson's injured. Calvert-Lewin's an injury doubt. Ings has got really poor fixtures. Antonio's a no-brainer at this moment in time. So you're kind of limited. And it's really either upwards or downwards. And then investing that money into the midfield. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of at the moment. DCL plus Traore or Bamford plus Benrahma? Great question. As a duo, I prefer Bamford and Benrahma, but DCL is looking really good at the moment in the long term, and Traore has the underlying stats and the fixtures to do really well and outperform his previous history. But as a duo, just kind of personally, I prefer Bamford and Benrahma. Wilson plus Bruno to Jota plus Ronaldo for a -4 is a sensible move in my opinion. The only kind of way it could backfire is if Ronaldo doesn't start. And then Bruno is obviously going to be the main guy and he could get a double-digit return against Newcastle. He did it last season at St James's Park, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he did it again. Do you think it's risky to own both DCL and Ronaldo and take a 2-week punt to replace DCL in the short term? This is the thing though, I mean, yeah, it's likely or there's at least a chance of both of them not playing in Game Week 4, but long term they're both really good moves. So, you know, if you can maybe go without DCL for 2 weeks and then bring him back in, then that's fine, but who would you actually get rid of, or who do you get in to get rid of DCL? How are you, mate? Activated my wildcard. My team is Sanchez, Trent, Cancelo, Cody and White, Traore, Salah, Jota, CR7, Antonio and DCL. Bench, Gunn, Sarr, Williams and Sissoko. Thoughts, mate? So really solid team, Joao Ramos, and some interesting picks in there like Cancelo. That immediately stands out to me, and he could be a very kind of explosive asset from time to time. He's a bit of a differential right now. I like it, to be honest. The only kind of concerns is if CR7 and DCL start in Game Week 4, but by Game Weeks 5 and 6 they should be fine. And like I just said, there's not really too many options. What I would consider in your case, if you do not back Ronaldo to start, you could actually just get Lukaku instead. I think he could do extremely well in Game Week 4. And even if he's got tough fixtures in 5 and 6, from Game Week 7 onwards, Lukaku is a very good asset long term. Do you think Tsimikas will start versus Leeds? This is kind of a rumour that's been going around. I think a journalist reported it, and it is a good point. You know, Robertson's played 4 games in 11 days. He's got the Champions League coming up too, and Tsimikas has been in such fine form. If anything, he shouldn't have been dropped in the first place. I think there's a chance of Tsimikas starting, but I'd say it's a 40% chance, and the other 60% is Robertson. So, yeah, it's just kind of looking back, you know, over the years. Yeah, there's never been kind of good left-back cover for Liverpool to really, you know, displace Robertson. But yeah, Robertson's always played when available, so I'm not too sure about that. If we get bad news about Ronaldo, would you recommend going for Lukaku and Torres ahead of Ronaldo and Traore or Sarr? Yeah, honestly, I think if we kind of get some comments around 10:30, when we get those embargo comments, I would consider it. I think Lukaku this week could outscore Ronaldo anyway, and if he's going to probably start and Ronaldo isn't, then I would probably do that instead. And also Torres, as much as he's kind of a rotation risk, I prefer him over Traore and Sarr. Will Cancelo be starting for City? I think most weeks, but he's going to be rotated from time to time. And if we look back at last season, I think around February, March, that's when he just suddenly started being ousted from the team, and Zinchenko became the main left back and Walker the main right back. So we never know when Cancelo's kind of just be discarded by Pep Guardiola, but for the time being, I think he will start, and he looked very good on international duty. I don't know if you guys have seen the nutmeg he made, but yeah, he's been looking really good. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's thinking not going to start Ronaldo this week. Yeah, maybe. Brasil, decime que se siente. Tener en casa tu papá. Yeah, what a song, mate. What a song. But Jota is so good when in the team and he is so tempting. I am doing something tomorrow early morning and so have to probably make decisions tonight. Yeah, I might do something similar. If it's not tonight, I'm going to be making very late transfers tomorrow and I'll let you guys know. It is what it is. Welcome, Genius Gamer. Thank you for joining in. Ninad says, did Jimenez and Jota in for Ings and Barnes last week because of price falls? Looks like it paid off making an early transfer. Yeah, I mean, potentially, to be honest, but sometimes these early transfers are just so risky, to be honest. Is Lewis a guaranteed starter? Is Lewis? Who's Lewis? Unless you're on about Lewin. Yeah. Dylan, mate, what's up? I finally caught up with the stream. Hope you're doing well, mate. Thank you, Baraka. Really appreciate it, mate. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. What short-term punt strikers would you go as a replacement for DCL? This is the thing. Honestly, I have no idea. Like Lukaku, I think, if you can upgrade to him, but the thing is, you might not be able to, and you've already got Ronaldo. That's kind of a tricky situation. DCL could still start. This is the thing, but I don't know, it's just a chance that he won't. To be honest, the kind of main guy that comes into my head is Jimenez for a similar price. So if you can't get Lukaku, I'd probably look at Jimenez because Wilson's injured. Antonio, I'm assuming you've got him already. If you don't, then definitely get him in, despite the United fixture coming up soon. Yeah, I'd be looking at Jimenez probably. Thanks for your rating, Dylan. Love from India. Thank you, Ashish. Really appreciate it, mate. And if you've got any more questions, let me know. I'm on the wildcard. Any advice for players for the long term? Okay, so I'd look at a Wolves asset or two. I wouldn't triple up. I think we have to still be cautious about them. But yeah, I'd say a defender like Semedo or Marçal or Cody is fine. Or even Jose Sarr in goal could be decent. And then in the midfield, I'd look at Traore. I probably prefer him over Trincao because Podence is coming back and Trincao could actually lose his spot to his compatriot. And then Jimenez up front. I'd be looking at those sorts of assets. Who would I prefer the most? Probably Jimenez, based on all the kind of injury problems we're having with the strikers, and a defender. If you can get Semedo, he's got a bit more attacking upside, he can get some bonus points, but if not, I think Marçal or Cody are fine. Semedo just offers you a bit more kind of security because the others could be displaced. I mean, there is kind of rumours about Cody, not so sure about those. And then in terms of long term, I think Jota isn't too long term, and same with Torres or Greenwood really. If Torres continues to start, of course, then yeah, we'll obviously look back on this and say, yeah, he is a long-term asset, but it's just really hard to tell Pep Guardiola. But whoever you pick from those three, and I think all of them are really good when they start, I think just stick with him for a long period of time. And then Antonio, he's just pretty much a set and forget right now. I'd actually even consider, if you're not looking at Wolves defenders or you want another 4.5 million defender, I look at a Spurs or Arsenal defender. I know Arsenal have been terrible, but I expect them to tighten up. And with Gabriel coming back, it's going to be really important. Thomas Partey is going to be crucial to the midfield. And there's a lot of players coming back for Arsenal. I think they're going to be much better. Don't get me wrong, I don't expect them to, finish in the top four or anything, but I'd be a bit more optimistic about them. So if you have Ben White, for example, at 4.4 million, you can't really go wrong. Even Tierney, I haven't shown him too much love on FPL, but he is still a good option. And remember, against Brentford, he created 6 chances. So those are the sorts of players I consider. Then there's the usual Trents, Salahs, a premium striker like Lukaku or Ronaldo. It's up to you who you go for. And then in goal, apart from Jose Sarr, maybe Sanchez. I think Brighton have been looking decent defensively. Just a bit weak from set pieces, but still, I like the look of them, to be honest. So a lot of teams being sent in. So Guru says, wildcard team Sanchez, Semedo, Marçal, James, Williams, Thomas. From Leicester, Mendy, Sarr, Salah, Jota, Rafinha, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio. 3-4-3. Please rate. Okay, so I like the team. I like Rafinha, but the problem I have with that is that he might not even start in game week 4. To be fair, you probably wouldn't play him anyway, looking like that. And then Thomas, he's probably going to be losing his spot to Vestergaard, so you could just get another 4.5 million defender. What I would do with this team is look to invest a bit more money to upgrade Thomas. You've already got Williams as a 4 million defender. He could be your 5th choice. Try to get a 4.5 million defender. Of course, you've already got Marcel. You've got double walls defense, which is interesting. I like James. He's a really good pick. But yeah, I'd look to find a bit more money and upgrade Thomas. He's a bit of a concern there. Mendy's your 5th midfielder, so I get that. You've got Sarr, Salah, Jota, Rafinha. I like that midfield, but just bear in mind that Rafinha is probably not going to play in game week 4. Ronaldo, Lukaku is a fantastic forward line, and Antonio. You can't really get better than that with your attack. So I really like that attack right now. But yeah, try to find a bit more money and upgrade Thomas. And then Her says, my team is Sanchez, Shaw, Trent, Digne, I think that is, Salah, Bruno, Lewin, Soucek, Grealish, Gray, and Tony. Is this good enough? If not, who should I replace? It is good enough for sure. Soucek, I mean, I could literally... I could jinx it just like I did with Gundogan last week, but I would probably look to upgrade him if possible, or just downgrade him to a 4.5 million defender and use that money to upgrade someone else. Grealish I'm not a big fan of. He's ticking over, but City are scoring 10 goals and he's only being involved in 2 of them. He's still a good option, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Is there something about Grealish? I think that there are better choices, like even Ferran Torres, Greenwood and Jota, so I would prefer one of them over Grealish. Yeah, Tony's fine, to be honest. And you've got Gray. Yeah, which strikers do you have, actually? Yeah, you've got Lewin. You've got Lewin in there. Lewin and Tony. Yeah, that's decent, but I would probably look to upgrade one of your midfielders, or if not, one of your attackers. Selling Benrahma, thinking long term. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't sell him ahead of Southampton, but I think beyond that, you don't have to have him. And if you just got him in, I'd probably keep. But if you don't have him, I wouldn't be kind of in a rush to get him in, honestly. So he's kind of just a not sell and not buy, in my opinion, right now. Traore or Sarr at the same price. It sounds a bit controversial, I know, but I actually prefer Sarr a little bit. That's kind of a personal opinion there, but Watford aren't too good offensively. Sarr, Alonso, White, Shaw, Torres, Jota, Salah, Greenwood, CR7, Tony, Jimenez. What do you think? I think it's a solid squad, to be honest, mate. And I like the goalkeeper. It could be really good. Yeah, the defence looks solid for this week. Just bear in mind that Alonso could be displaced at some point. We just don't know when. And yeah, the midfield looks really good. Torres, Jota and Greenwood. The only kind of worry I have with having all 3 of them is that they're all a bit not injury prone, rotation risk. And that could be an issue certain game weeks anyway. But yeah, for the most part, should be fine. And then Salah, CR7, Tony, Jimenez, really solid. I think Jimenez could be great for you. Greenwood, Pepe or Torres for exactly 2 game weeks, who would you go for? Pepe is actually a really interesting one with Norwich. I think he could do extremely well, and Norwich actually conceding a lot of chances from their right-hand side. So someone to think about. I think if you want a differential who could boost you up the ranks, Pepe could be it. But apart from that, thinking logically, I'd probably go for Greenwood, personally. I have Rafinha. As we know, Rafinha is not going to play in Game Week 4. Shall I keep him or sell him? If you have enough squad depth, I wouldn't sell him because from Game Week 5 onwards, he's got great fixtures. But if you don't have anyone else to cover, even in defence, then he is someone you could consider selling. Start Carson or Sanchez? Ooh, great question. I think City might actually be more likely to keep a clean sheet. So I'd be tempted to start Carson. But yeah, I mean, on paper, looking at the fixture, of course, Sanchez is more likely, but that's just kind of a gut feeling I have. DCL or Lukaku? Look, for Game Week 4, I think Lukaku, just because he's going to start with DCL, he might not even start, and both good fixtures, to be honest. But yeah, looking at Game Week 4, I'd say Lukaku. Long term, I prefer DCL. With DCL, I think he's a player that will have constant injury doubts. People will avoid and he'll continue scoring points. Also want 3-4-3 for now in the future. Yeah, Calvert-Lewin does pick up a lot of knocks, doesn't he? And he was already nursing, I think, a broken toe or something like that. But yeah, he'll definitely be fine. It's just a matter of if he's going to start in Game Week 4 or 5. He's definitely going to be back by Game Week 5. Will Salah play against Leeds? Yeah, he should be, Noah. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him not starting, to be honest. Selling Benrahma because of the wild card. Sarr fixture's looking good. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I should have said that. If you are on a wild card, then selling Benrahma is fair enough. But if you are not on a wild card, then I probably wouldn't be selling Benrahma. Ronaldo, Dennis, Antonio are my strikers. Looking really good, Jeremy. Dylan, are you aware that Jota's rising in price tonight? Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I was expecting him to go up in price, one or two times by the end of the international break, but it's not something I've been checking, to be honest, the price rises. I'm not that interested, but it's something that might play a part tonight. And after the stream, if I don't make the transfers live here, then I'll probably be making them just before, I think it's 1 or 2 a.m. when they typically made the price rises happen in the UK. So yeah, that's something to think about. Hello, Dylan, says Kobe. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. Ings to DCL this game week, no hit. Yeah, it's a sensible move. The only obviously issue there is if DCL is going to start or not. But assuming he does, that's a really sensible transfer. Start DCL or Jimenez. I'd start both, mate. I wouldn't bench any of them. Thoughts on Smith Rowe, provided the fact he's flagged with illness now. He was in training though, so it looks like it's fine, and it's not related to COVID, so Smith Rowe should be fine. Bamford as a striker with uncertainty about Ronaldo DCL. Yeah, but I wouldn't be bringing in Bamford now ahead of Liverpool, although he can maybe nick a goal or two. I'd be looking at him from Game Week 5 onwards. You're the first ever English YouTuber to pronounce my name properly. You think it's worth having Lukaku this week and bringing in CR7 back next week? Appreciate all the help, mate. Love the channel. Thank you, Joao Ramos. I mean, to be honest, it's because I've got a Latin background, but yeah, appreciate that, mate. And you think it's worth bringing Lukaku this week and bringing Ronaldo next week? To be honest, I'd say yeah, and I think that's what I said to you earlier. If you have doubts about Ronaldo, then just get Lukaku in for this week, because even if Ronaldo comes off the bench and scores, his ceiling is just limited compared to Lukaku. So I'd probably consider that. And yeah, I really appreciate your comment, mate. Hope to see you in future live streams too. Noah says Sanchez, Soufal, Trent, Shaw, Salah, Greenwood, Benrahma, Fernandes, Rafinha, DCL, Antonio. Thoughts and thinking of free hitting this week? I think that's a perfectly good team. I don't think you need to free hit. Obviously, Rafinha, he's a doubt. He's probably not going to play unless Brazil do a massive U-turn, which is unlikely. But I think you have enough cover there, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not sure who else you have on your bench, but if you have a decent option there, like a Ben White, he could fill in for Rafinha, no problems, and the rest looks good. Obviously, DCL is a concern, but I think that's a really good team. Should I play Soufal or Veltman? Great question. Oh, that's a great question. I would probably play Soufal for the attacking potential, but I'm not expecting West Ham to keep a clean sheet. And the same thing goes for Brighton, to be honest. I could be wrong about that, though. And I'm assuming you have Sanchez in goal. And if that's the case, I'd definitely go for Soufal. Hey, Dylan, is it worth getting rid of Son and Tony for Greenwood and DCL? Says Hassan, 2 great transfers. You're getting rid of 2 good players, but you're also bringing in 2 players. It can backfire, if I'm being honest with you, but long term, I like those moves. And just bear in mind that DCL is an injury doubt, but if you back him to start, then I'd probably go ahead with that. Because Son, as much as there's a little chance he plays in Game Week 4, I just don't see it, personally. Having Lukaku in Game Week 4, then upgrading to Ronaldo in Game Week 5, then returning to Lukaku in Game Week 7, good enough? I think so. Assuming the rest of your team is in a good shape, I think that's actually pretty fine, and something I might even consider myself, to be honest. Should I bring Ronaldo in for Fernandes in my wildcard team, or should I just keep Fernandes? If you're in a wildcard, I think you want to look long term, and you'd rather have Ronaldo as a placeholder up front. You probably already have a premium midfielder in Salah, and just a kind of personal opinion here, I think the optimum team structure, it involves having 1 premium midfielder and 1 premium striker, and then you can alternate between the kind of 3 big hitters up front, maybe a Vardy and a Aubameyang as well, if they come into the mix too. So honestly, I'd probably get Ronaldo in on a wild card, but just bear in mind that if Ronaldo doesn't start, then the chances of Bruno outscoring him this week is very likely. Also have the Rafinha doubt, which is annoying, as when you take a hit, you want on certainty that you have 11. Think Brazil players will play and teams ignore the ban. That's true, but this is the thing. Obviously, FIFA have been saying and the federations have been saying that the Premier League clubs that do that will be facing a 3-0 forfeit. But if UEFA are firm as well, and there are some rumours that they are kind of threatening to break away or something like that, then that can also play a part. So there's a lot of confusion in the air right now. A lot can change. We don't know anything for sure. But yeah, I mean, I can see a scenario where the players play regardless and no kind of repercussions are made. Replacement for Rafinha if he's not playing on a wild card. So definitely, if you have the money, I'd be looking at Greenwood, Jota, Torres. Assuming you already have 1 or 2 of them, I'd actually be looking at Traore or Sarr. I like them a lot, looking at the fixtures and underlying stats, especially with Traore. So I'd probably look at those sorts of players. And if not, Damari Gray, and you can use the extra money to upgrade someone else. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking at. Should I play Son? If you're not planning on selling him, then I'd definitely start him because the chances are he either starts or doesn't play at all. So you should be fine there if you have enough kind of cover. Kane or Salah captain? Ooh, that's a great question. I think Salah's ceiling is higher, but Kane might be less likely to blank. That might sound very weird. I can see Kane getting a goal and maybe 8-9 points overall because of bonus. With Salah, it could be Jota or Mane scoring the goals there against Leeds. And, you know, that would definitely be the case if Son is missing out. I think Kane is going to be more likely to score. I'd probably go with Salah, personally, because of the ceiling. What do you think about Odegaard? I'd wait and see with him first. He's a decent option potentially at 5.5 million. I think the fixture's really good, of course. If you're on a wild card and you want someone around that price, I'd consider him. But there's also Damari Gray against Burnley, so it's not an easy decision. Patrick says, hi Dylan, how you doing, mate? Pretty well, thank you. Hopefully you are too. Let me know. And yeah, good to see you here again. Mings, Tielemans and Ings, who to move on? Ooh, great question. I mean, yeah, I'd look to get rid of all of them, obviously, in due time. I'd probably, assuming you have enough midfield and defensive cover, I'd probably move Ings on first. I've got Amati to swap in for him. Yeah, this is the thing though, I'm not sure if Amati will even start, and he's playing Man City, so yeah, I'd probably look to make a change there. Should I bring Ronaldo or DCL into my wildcard team? I already have Lukaku. Well, if you get Ronaldo in and you have Lukaku, you're going to have to make some adjustments elsewhere in your team. With DCL, you probably have a bit more flexibility and money to invest elsewhere. Honestly, I'd rather have DCL, but you know, just to kind of make it clear, I don't prefer having DCL over Ronaldo long term. But the problem is, if you already have Lukaku, who you can already upgrade to Ronaldo in a week or two when he's definitely going to start, there's no need to have both of them. But that's just my opinion on it. I prefer having one premium midfielder and one premium striker. Should I get Torres or Benrahma? Already got Jota, says Kai Havertz. I'd probably prefer Torres, but just bear in mind, you know, he's going to be rotated from time to time. If you have enough depth, then it's definitely probably the better option. Is Rafinha only missing Game Week 4? Most likely Kobe, because it's the 5-day rule, and it's Liverpool anyway. So if you have Rafinha, I would probably keep him, unless you have no one else to cover for him, and you know you're playing with 10 men. Then that's the only kind of possibility of, you know, moving him out. But I'd probably keep him, to be honest. Is Ronaldo essential to not lose rank because of the high ownership? I don't think he's absolutely essential. Let's look at his ownership right now. 22%. Yeah, like I'd say when you have to be worried about ownership is when a player is owned by, I'd say, 40% of the game or more. Even maybe in the 30s. 22% isn't too bad. And even then, if he comes off the bench, yeah, let's say he gets a goal, it's very hard for him to get in the bonus points, especially if United win by 3 or 4. So I wouldn't be too worried about that, mate, honestly. I got 2 free transfers. I want to take a -8 to bring in Tsimikas, Williams, Bruno to Jota, Morris to Mendy, Scarlett to Ronaldo. Current rank 35k. I mean, I'll be honest, I like those transfers. They look good. But I don't think you need to take a -8. And you're in a very good position right now. And, you know, just to kind of be blunt, you're probably going to be going down in rank a lot. So even if you have a very good week, even if your players that come in do extremely well, like Ronaldo, and you captain him, you're probably still going to lose rank. So I'd kind of be a bit more cautious, try to limit it to a -4, or if not, just 2 free transfers. I wouldn't be making 4 transfers like that. That's kind of my personal opinion. Would you wildcard this team, says Shahin? Hopefully I pronounced that right. If I didn't, apologise for that. Sanchez, White, Ayling, Trent, Shaw, Rafinha, Salah, Bruno, Greenwood, DCL and Antonio. I definitely wouldn't wildcard that team. I think it's really good. And even if, you know, Ronaldo starts, Bruno can do something against Newcastle. So I don't think you need to wildcard that. Will Sancho start for United, says Jeremy? I think so. I think it will be Sancho, Greenwood. I'd be very surprised if Greenwood is benched. Bruno. And then it's a question of, you know, what United do. So they could play Pogba on the left and play 2 pivots. And then they'll play Greenwood up front. And if not, Ronaldo plays up top, he starts, Greenwood's on the right, Sancho's on the left. They could do that. So those are 2 possibilities. So I think where Pogba plays is going to be very crucial to if Ronaldo plays or not. But I think Sancho will play. Salah, Jota or Antonio for captain. I personally prefer Salah, but Antonio's really good. I mean, we can't ignore him. He's just won Player of the Month. Well deserved. 4 goals, 3 assists. The highest scoring FPL player, the highest XG, the most shots. So many good stats for him. But yeah, I'd probably go for Salah, then Antonio, then Jota. But do not underestimate Antonio. Thoughts on heavy defence of Rudiger, Diaz and Trent? To be honest, I like it because that's really long term. What I don't like is when you constantly make transfers at the back. That's something that cost me a lot last season. So having defenders from, I'd say, the 3 best teams in the league, arguably, or at least 3 of the best, and also the 3 of the best defences, and they have a bit of potential in terms of bonus points and maybe at least attacking returns of Trent. I just think it makes sense. Of course, maybe you could downgrade one of them and find a bit more money to upgrade your midfielder attack. But I think having 2 of those 3, I'd actually like a lot. So I like having 2 or 3 premium defenders, really, or mid-priced. On wildcard, edging towards Tierney over Semedo. What do you think of the 2? Okay, so in Game Week 4, I think Tierney's more likely to haul than Semedo. But I just think that Wolves have much better fixtures long term. And if we look at so far this season, Arsenal have been very poor defensively. I expect them to tighten up at the back. But there are still a few kind of tough fixtures coming up, including even Brighton. I'd say that's still quite a tough fixture away from home. Spurs as well. That's going to be really tough. And with Wolves, I think they don't face anyone in the top 5 from last season until Game Week 14 or 15. So that's why I probably prefer Semedo long term, but Tierney in Game Week 4, I expect him to outscore Semedo. I have Kane. I want to replace him with CR7. I think that's risky. If I had Kane, I would not be getting rid of him for Ronaldo this week. The free hit team would be Sanchez, Dyer, Semedo, Christensen, Trincao, Jota, Torres, Salah, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio. No, that looks exceptional, but I mean, there's still a few problems with that team, in my opinion, such as Trincao. It might be Podence starting instead, and that's a really good team overall. So if Trincao starts, that looks very solid, but I don't think you need to free hit. You'd probably want to save that chip for a double game week or a blank game week. It will help you navigate that without having to compromise other fixtures and other game weeks in the process. So I'd probably try to save the free hit, mate. That's just my opinion. Obviously, back your gut. You could be onto something there. The Flying Dutchman says, I'm off. Thanks for the stream consistency. Dylan, have a good one. Thank you, mate, and good luck with game week 4. Will Torres start, says Kai Havertz. Great question. I think he will, but there's still a slim chance of him being benched, and yeah, he'll be starting in the Champions League, to be honest. That is a possibility, and Man City have a relatively tough group, and they start off with Leipzig, I believe, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's benched, to be honest, but I think he will start, especially if Jesus is out. I know Jesus is a winger now, pretty much, and Torres can still start up front in the same team, but I think he will start. What's the news on DCL? He's training, he's back in training, he's been pictured, but he's not been completely, I'd say, cleared, in my opinion. So he's still flagged, he's still a doubt. He could even start from the bench. He could even not make the squad for now and be back for Game Week 5. I think he's going to be in the squad, but I'm not sure if he's going to start. That's kind of my gut feeling there. Will Ronaldo start, or should I swap him to Lukaku? I think Ronaldo will still start, but looking at Ollie's comments, I think his comments imply that he's not going to start. I know that sounds confusing, and to be honest, his comments have confused me more than I was before. But if you're asking me for my gut feeling, I think Ronaldo's going to start. But obviously, don't make a transfer decision based on what I think. Ultimately, do it from what you think. Captain Ronaldo, Salah, DCL, or Antonio, says Kai Havertz. I'd probably captain Salah or Antonio. Trincao's a good differential. Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good differential, to be honest. Hello, Dylan. Have you taken any hits for Game Week 4? I've not made any transfers, mate. But if I do make these 3 transfers on screen, so a 4.5 million defender like Marçal, Jota and Ronaldo, that would be a -4. But based on Ollie's comments, that's what putting me off at the moment from Ronaldo just a bit, despite the fact that I think he can still start. But it's just really, really tough to tell at the moment. News on DCL, yeah. I'll answer that. Who's the best captain for Game Week 4? Honestly, based on kind of everything that's going on, I'd say Salah or Antonio are the best captaincy choices, and Lukaku, definitely Lukaku. So if I had to rank them right now, based on kind of what Ollie said after, I would change my ranking a bit from my preview, and I'd probably put either Salah or Lukaku first, and then Antonio in 3rd position. Is DCL fit? He's fit enough to be in the squad, but he's not fully fit, or at least we don't know if he's fully fit. He's been training, but that doesn't mean he's going to start. Rafinha, I mean, this is the thing with Rafinha. I would keep him if, I wouldn't be selling him basically because he's got great fixtures from Game Week 5 onwards. And in Game Week 4, you'd probably be benching him anyway. The problem is if you don't have enough squad depth to cover Rafinha's absence. What do you think of Dyer, Semedo, Marçal, Ferran, Jota, Salah, Gray, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio? Looks really solid, mate. Yeah. Double Wolves defense is interesting, but it could work really well long term. I don't expect a clean sheet in Game Week 4, but in future it could definitely happen. It's a solid team. What would you do with Mahrez? I'd sell him, to be honest. He does well against Leicester from time to time, but I'd just be getting rid of him because, yeah, let's say you get rid of him and he hauls, but long term you're saving yourself a headache. I'd rather even have, I'd say, Ferran Torres. Good luck this week. Your live streams are great. Read a lot of the chat. Thank you, Christopher. I try my best, of course. If I haven't answered anyone's questions, you can write the comment again, but do not spam the chat, please. But yeah, I have missed a few comments today. I apologize for that. Is it okay to take a -8 hit for Salah, Gray, and Ronaldo? It's okay, but would I do it personally? No. Then again, though, not having Salah would maybe change my mind there because Salah's just someone I wouldn't want to go without. If it's a -4 and you get rid of one of those transfers, I'd probably, think of doing it. Thoughts on Adam Armstrong? Looking around that price bracket, I'd say, yeah, Tony, Armstrong, and Pukki are looking like the best options right now. And yeah, he's been doing well so far. I don't trust Southampton. That's the problem I have with him, but he's actually a decent finisher. Son, Barnes, Ings out for Sarr, Traore, and Ronaldo -4. Worth it? Oh, good question. I think it's worth it, but bear in mind that Ronaldo is potentially not going to start, and Sarr and Traore are facing off, but they can both score, to be fair. It's a tough one. I think I could see it kind of backfiring if Son starts, but then again, the chances of that happening are relatively slim. Who should I pick? Saiss, Marçal, or Semedo? I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Semedo, but I'd probably go for him because he's a bit more nailed. With Saiss and Marçal, they could be displaced by a centre-back or left wing-back. Will Cody start? I think so, but there are rumours that he is going to be benched. Would you go Tsimikas to Williams and Fernandes to Jota, or Fernandes to start and Tony to Ronaldo? Great question. Okay, yeah, my live chat just bugged out there. I would actually go for the second choice, but that's very risky in my opinion because Fernandes could easily start, Ronaldo doesn't, and that backfires. So the safer pick would arguably be the first one. But either way, you're getting rid of Fernandes, which I'm not really too sure about. Honestly, in your situation, Callum, if you go with the first choices of transfers, I just do Tsimikas to Williams, potentially, and then, just keep Fernandes for now. But of course, Jota is looking really good this week. Okay, Kane for captain or Salah? I'd go for Salah captain. Should I take a -4 to get rid of Tsimikas? If possible, no. There is a slim chance of him starting, but I might even do that myself. I might take a -4 to get rid of Tsimikas in order to get in Jota. If that's the case for you, then I'd consider it for sure. Should I keep Son? If not, whom should I replace with? If I had Son right now, I'd probably get rid of him because I think there are better value options elsewhere anyway. And with the injury doubt, that would just kind of push me over the edge there. So I would get rid of him. Who would you replace him with? Good question. I mean, I'd be looking at one of the 7 million midfielders. So Torres, Greenwood or Jota. You probably have one of them, so go for one of the others. And if not, downgrade to a 6 million midfielder maybe like Traore or Sarr, and then upgrade your attack that way. Fernandes good captain? I think so, especially if Ronaldo doesn't start. Ronaldo or Salah as captain? I'd go for Salah right now. Before, in my preview, I said Ronaldo, but because there's a bit more doubt about him starting, I'd just go for Salah. Why Marçal over Cody, mate? I just think he offers a bit more attacking threat, but at the same time, they're both possibly going to be, I'd say, taken off from time to time and someone else starts in their place. Wolves have a bit of depth defensively. That's why I prefer Semedo if possible, but I'd be 0.1 million short from getting Semedo. One last question. Don't want to get annoying. No, it's fine, mate. Don't worry. The more questions, the merrier. You think it's worth getting Jimenez in for DCL this week as I'm on my wild card? I'll just bring DCL back in 2 weeks' time. Thoughts? I'd probably do that, to be honest, in your situation if you think DCL's not going to start. Obviously, I hate to I wouldn't say sit on the fence, but not give you a clear, concrete answer because we don't know if DCL's going to start. Same with Ronaldo, really. It's based on just going with our gut feelings, what we've heard. DCL is in training, but that doesn't mean he's going to start. Jimenez will probably be starting. Then again, though, who knows, with the Mexican Federation and all this that's been going on. But I think Jimenez is going to start. I'm not so sure about DCL. I think he might be benched, so I'd consider it. How about Torres? To be honest, don't let Ollie comments change your mind. There is no way in hell Ronaldo's sitting on the bench. Yeah, that's a good point, to be fair. I mean, yeah, you mentioned Torres. Let's actually show you my transfer. So I'll be honest, I prefer Jota over Torres because of Firmino being out, but one thing I could do is avoid the -4, keep Tsimikas for now, who could potentially play in Game Week 4, and get Torres in the midfield and Ronaldo. So I could get Torres and Ronaldo in for 2 free transfers, no hits, but if not, get Jota, get a Wolves defender potentially for a -4. So let me know what you guys think about that. But yeah, Torres is a good option. Lukaku will score a hat-trick. No, Martinez in goal. Yeah, it's probably steering goal, isn't it, for Aston Villa? It could be, yeah. I think I predicted 2 or 3-0. I think 2-0 I went with, assuming Lukaku didn't start in my preview. But yeah, I could see Lukaku scoring 2 or 3 goals in that fixture. Solskjaer, he's been having a good preseason with Juventus. He's played for the national team. He's had a good week with us here. He'll definitely be on the pitch at some point, that's for sure. Exactly, Neil. It's just that last sentence. He'll definitely be on the pitch at some point. That makes it sound like he's going to be coming off the bench. But yeah, I mean, everything before that was kind of pointing towards him starting. Wilson to Lukaku or Ings to Ronaldo? Wilson to Jimenez for a -4. If no -4, play Dunk against Brentford. I'm not too worried about playing Dunk against Brentford, even though I'm not confident about a clean sheet there. In your case, I'd probably do Wilson to Lukaku because Wilson's definitely going to be out in Game Week 4. Ings could still nick something against Chelsea, although it's very unlikely. And yeah, Lukaku, I think he's going to outscore Ronaldo this week based on, the possibility of Ronaldo not starting. But of course, if he does start, then that's blown out of the water potentially. I'd probably go with Wilson to Lukaku. Long-term wise, is having Christensen and Rudiger good, or should I just get one of them and who? Long-term, having both of them is exceptional in my opinion, but you can just get one of them now. You're in a good position. A lot of people don't have Chelsea defenders. Who would you pick between the two? I think Christensen actually picked up a knock on international duty, so I'd be tempted to go with Rudiger instead. And he also scored, by the way, in Germany's 4-0 win against Iceland. I'd probably go with Rudiger, and he's also a bit more nailed, although both of them are relatively nailed in my opinion. Should I get Ronaldo for Bruno? Tough one. It could go either way, really. Honestly, I'm considering, this is at least in my situation, I'm obviously got similar players to you, I'm considering keeping Bruno for now and not getting Ronaldo in until maybe next week or the week after. I think it's worth the risk. If you back Ronaldo to start and you don't care about what Oli said, then go for Ronaldo and get rid of Bruno, but it can definitely backfire either way, and both of them can still haul at the same time. Don't forget that. Yeah, ultimately you have to back your gut there. Thoughts on Gray? Best 5.6 million option in my opinion. I prefer him over Odegaard despite Arsenal's great fixture run. But yeah, he's not someone I would personally want to be starting most weeks. That's just kind of a personal opinion there. I'd rather have Calvert-Lewin. Should I keep Son? If not, whom should I replace with? Yeah, answer that question, mate. Who would you pick on a wildcard, DCL or Bamford? That's a good question. I'd probably still go for DCL, but Bamford is more likely to play in Game Week 4, but it's a much tougher fixture. And from Game Week 5 onwards, Bamford's fixtures are exceptional, at least for 5 or 6 game weeks. Calvert-Lewin has good fixtures up until Game Week 12. I still prefer DCL, probably. Sarr or Adama? I prefer Sarr, but Adama is probably, looking at it logically and statistically, a better option, but I prefer Sarr. Cody is captain, says Elvin. Yeah, that's true. That's why I'm not buying into the kind of him being displaced too much. And that's why I originally was thinking about him over Marçal, but I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. I'm not too keen on either of them. Sell DCL for 6.5 forward, then upgrade midfielders. Yeah, I mean, that's a good suggestion, but I already have Tony, and I'm not too keen on Armstrong or Pukki, to be honest. But that's a good suggestion. Do you think Lukaku's good against Spurs? They haven't been playing well. Yeah, I mean, Spurs have actually, I think, conceded the 3rd most shots of any team this season. They've been a bit lucky not to concede. I can see Chelsea winning that game, and Lukaku can score a goal. I don't see his ceiling being massively high. It could be a bit of a cagey game, but I see Chelsea winning it. So, yeah, I think he can still be good against Spurs. Who for captain? Lukaku, Ronaldo, Salah? I'd go for Lukaku or Salah, and because Lukaku's got lower ownership, I'd actually be tempted to go for him if I had him in my team. I don't know which to choose, DCL and Dyer or Jimenez and Shaw, because I don't know if DCL is playing. Any thoughts? As a duo, I prefer Jimenez and Shaw, to be honest, so I'd go for that. Williams and Sarr Traore or White and Gray? Great question. I'd probably go for White and Gray. I prefer that as a duo. Sounds so funny and stupid that the 2 players I may get with transfers, I think they will start, are both doubts. Yeah, exactly. Camis saying in a week how stupid that sounded, that I transferred in 2 doubts. Yeah, but it is what it is. Hopefully it pays off for you. But yeah. Is this a wildcard team? No, it isn't, mate. It's just me potentially getting Torres and Ronaldo in for 2 free transfers. The other kind of alternative is getting Jota instead of Torres and getting rid of Tsimikas for a 4.5, 4.8 million defender. But yeah, this is not a wildcard team. I've made several videos actually and streams about the wildcard, and I've shown a lot of drafts, including other people's drafts, which I rated, but not in this case. But yeah, thank you for your comment. Torres or Greenwood? Great question. I still prefer Greenwood slightly, but there's not much in it, and they're both slightly rotation risk. What should I do if Ronaldo doesn't start? I'm either bringing in Jota for Bruno or DCL for Ings. What do you think I should do? Well, this is the thing, if you get Ronaldo in, you just got to live with the fact that it is a possibility that he doesn't start. But either way, in half an hour, Ronaldo can still do something against Newcastle. They've been shocking defensively this season. Even the underlying stats back that. So I wouldn't be too kind of concerned, because going forward, Ronaldo will be a really good option, and then you can swap him onto Lukaku. Christensen is fit. He didn't pick up a knock. I'm Danish. Oh, yeah, fair enough, Nicholas. Apologies for that. And yeah, Christensen, 5 million. I mean, I still think Rudiger's slightly more nailed, but Christensen, yeah, I mean, at 5 million, a Chelsea defender. Oh my God, I wish I had enough money. If I had enough money to do Tsimikas to Christensen, get Jota and Ronaldo, I'd probably still take the -4. But yeah, thank you for that. Apologies for the wrong information I gave there. Salah to Lukaku. No, I wouldn't be getting rid of Salah. Tuchel in press conference didn't say anything about Christensen being injured, just Pulisic and one other. Yeah, I need to see who the other player was. I think it was Kante, actually, yeah, and there was nothing about Christensen. I must have gotten confused with someone else. That's my bad. Alisson or Raya? I'm guessing you're saying Raya from Brentford. I don't like spending too much money on a goalkeeper in FPL. And also remember, Alisson is not going to be playing most likely in game week 4 because of the Brazilian kind of... they're invoking that 5-day rule, and they're suspending their own players for playing for the clubs. So I just say Raya. Torres instead of Jota, so that I could transfer out Benrahma for Rafinha in the next game week. That looks solid, to be honest. And long term, Rafinha is a better option than Benrahma on paper. Jota or Torres? I prefer Jota, and yeah, he's just looking really good for the next 3 or 4 game weeks, considering Firmino is potentially out for, I'd say, a significant amount of time anyway. How will UCL affect Ronaldo? They play 3 days after Newcastle. How could it affect it? I mean, Ronaldo's fit enough to play both games and even the game after. So United have 3 games in a week. But what could happen is Ronaldo comes off the bench for half an hour against Newcastle and gets the reception after coming on as a substitute. And then he starts in the Champions League. And I think it's a quite easy group for United. It's kind of balanced overall, but United are the clear favourites. And I think they should be fine. When are you finalising your team? Honestly, probably after this stream, and either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I'll be letting you guys know in the community tab. So remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't already, smash the like button and share this video around with anyone who loves FPL and UCL Fantasy. There's going to be more UCL Fantasy videos to come, so stay tuned for that, including the team selection. And remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Dylan_RCM. It's the same as my YouTube name. Really appreciate everyone who's been tuning in, and we're not over yet. We're still going to be going on for a little while longer. It's only been just under an hour, but time has gone by very quickly. So really appreciate everyone who is here. And let's go back to my team and back to my kind of transfer plans. You can let me know what you think, as well as obviously proposing your own ideas and also just your kind of situations and problems. Yeah, Kante out for Chelsea, exactly, Neil. Yeah. Do you think Barnes will start? I think he will, but there's also a possibility of Leicester changing things. If I had Barnes, I'd get rid of him. I had him, I think, up until game week 3. I had him for 2 game weeks. He didn't do the business, and I got Benrahma in for him. Yeah, he's just not been too good. Alonso and Gilmore or Saka and Livramento? I'd rather have Alonso and Gilmore, despite Alonso being a bit of a rotation risk. Kane or Ronaldo, given that Son is missing a few games? Ooh, I mean, Kane is more likely to start in game week 4. But looking up until game week 7, I prefer Ronaldo, and then you can downgrade him to Lukaku. So I'd probably go for Ronaldo. But if you had Kane, I would definitely not be getting rid of him for Ronaldo, because this week I think Kane could outscore him. Really need some help on whether I should captain Antonio or Salah. Need some convincing for both players. Oh, I mean, Honestly, back your gut. Antonio's got the most points this season. He's got the highest XG. But Salah, at the same time, all he needs is one penalty. You saw it against Chelsea, and he can get double-digit returns. Looking at the opponents, Southampton and Leeds, I'd say, are a similar level defensively this season. Of course, Leeds, I think, are still capable of kind of improving. With Southampton, I'm just not so sure. Defensively, it's just as good as they're getting, really. Their defence is just far weaker than it was in years gone by. Looking at the opponent, I'd probably say Antonio is a better shout. But at the same time, I think Salah's fixture-proof. He can do it home and away. It's a tough one. I mean, I'm personally going for Salah over Antonio at this moment in time, but the stats and the fixture do back Antonio. Will Amati stop starting? I think so, to be honest, especially when Vestergaard comes back. Any news on Rafinha? Well, at this moment in time, mate, he's going to be missing game week 4. Same with all the other Brazilians except Richarlison, because Everton have a special relationship with the Brazilian Federation, whatever that means. Richarlison for Wilson or Bamford? Look, I think Richarlison will outscore Bamford, or at least has a higher ceiling in game week 4, but I prefer Bamford long term. Who to captain, Antonio or Salah? Yeah, I mean, I'm personally going for Salah at this moment in time, but Antonio is very, very tempting. Now, will Ronaldo start or not? I personally think he will, but just bear in mind there is a significant chance that he doesn't. But I'm just going with my gut feeling. I think he will start, but just bear in mind it's not completely nailed on. Is it too risky to captain Ronaldo over Salah? I don't think it's too risky, but the safer pick would be to go for Salah. Jimenez or Richarlison? Definitely Jimenez for me. Will you take a -4 for Ronaldo? I would, especially if you back him to start, but you don't have to take the hit. Is Williams nailed on? I think so right now, yeah. He should be fairly nailed, I'd say so. So for the 4.1 million options, it's him and Livramento really that you're looking at. At the moment, I have Salah, Jota, Greenwood, Benrahma and Bruno. Should I change any of them? You don't have to change any of them, to be honest. Of course, the big appeal is getting rid of Bruno, downgrading him and getting a premium striker. You could do that. I'd probably keep Benrahma for now. I think he could do really well against Southampton, but longer term, I'd be worried. Maybe even about his minutes and also just his end product, really. Sanchez or Hugo Lloris? I prefer Sanchez. Best 5 million midfielder. Honestly, I don't like any of the 5 million midfielders. If you're looking a bit higher up at 5.5, 5.6, then I'd say Demarai Gray, Odegaard, even Smith Rowe are potentially good options, but 5 million, there's no one really in my opinion. I could be missing someone. Semedo or Christensen? Honestly prefer Christensen. Just plays in a much better defence, and for 5 million getting a defender in one of the best teams in the world, also one of the best defences, I mean, it's just a no-brainer in my opinion. Reece James or Rudiger? Great question. I think Reece James is more susceptible to being benched, but Reece James also offers higher attacking potential and upside. So if you have enough defensive cover, let's say you have 3 other good options in defence, I'd probably go for Reece James. Otherwise, just go for Rudiger. Hello Dylan, what is your thought about keeping Tony? Until when will you keep him? Ideally, I'd probably get rid of him, but I'd probably, at this moment in time, considering my situation and the other transfers I want to make, I'd probably be keeping him until game week 5 or 6. And game week 6 is when Brentford's fixtures turn for the worse. So, yeah, keep an eye on that kind of time period. Today's my birthday, says Abhinav. Happy birthday, mate. Thank you for tuning in on your birthday and obviously celebrate well with the family. I also know someone who's, it's his birthday today as well. But yeah, hopefully you have a really blessed one. Thank you, Kumar, for joining in. And yeah, good to see you again. Traore or Torres? I prefer Torres. So yeah, worth taking a -4 for Ronaldo? Yeah, I think so. -4 for White? I wouldn't take a hit for White, but I think he's decent this week. Captain Kane over Salah? Could be a good differential, and to be honest, Kane is capable of doing really well. He's got a decent record against Palace, but I'd rather captain Salah. DCL or Jimenez? I prefer DCL, but Jimenez is a good option. Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing well, Adil, and hopefully you are too. Should I keep Dyer or replace him? I wouldn't be getting rid of Dyer right now. If you got him in, yeah, I wouldn't be getting rid of him just yet, and can keep a clean sheet against Palace. Who should I replace Simicast with? Depends on how much money you have available. If you have 4.9 million, then I'd consider Semedo and Tierney, but otherwise I'd be looking at Marçal, Cody, Ben White, Tomiyasu, these sorts of options, even Ayling from game week 5 onwards. Is Antonio worth a -4 hit for this game week? I think so. He could be worth it. I think he can pay it off immediately and even long term. even against United he could do well. So I think he's worth it, but obviously you don't have to take the hit. Traore and White or Benrahma and a 4 million defender? I'm unsure on Traore. Yeah, I'm a bit unsure about him as well. But as a duo, I would prefer Traore and White if you're in a situation where you don't have enough cover and you need one of these to kind of start regularly. Lukaku, Ronaldo and Gray or Lukaku, DCL, Fernandes? Ooh, tough one. Really tough. Honestly, Lukaku, DCL and Fernandes looks like a better trio, if you're asking me in that way. 2 free transfers, Ings for CR7 and Bruno for Jota or Torres or even someone else. That looks solid, and I'd probably get Jota in instead of Torres. Which free forwards for the next 5 game weeks? Great question. I'd say Antonio still, Dominic Calvert-Lewin despite the injury risk, and Raul Jimenez really. But that's kind of looking at the budget options. If you want a premium, then for the next 5 game weeks, I'd actually be tempted to say Lukaku and probably over Jimenez. But obviously, if you don't back Calvert-Lewin to start in game week 4, for example, you can just go with Antonio, Jimenez and Lukaku. But definitely those 3 or 4 strikers, I'd say, are the best. 5 million defender options, Christensen, mate. I think he's the standout. There's Soufal too, Tierney, Semedo, but Christensen is my favourite. Best 5.5 million goalkeeper, probably Lloris, but I wouldn't be getting him in. And I think his price actually rose, so he's 5.6 technically. But I prefer having Jose Sa at 5 million or even Sanchez at 4.5. Ronaldo or Salah as captain. Based on what we've heard recently, I'd go for Salah. Feel like captaining Ronaldo when you're bringing him is necessary. I think that maybe it's a bit pointless having him and not captain. Yeah, fair enough. Although I'm scared of the little doubt and may get him and captain Salah. Yeah, I get what you mean, but then again, Salah is a really good choice, so you're not missing out too much there, and he potentially has a higher ceiling this week. Reece James has a red card. He does, but isn't he cleared? Let me check. I don't want to give false information here. Let's check Reece James. I think he's just called James on this. Reece James. Yeah, he's still flagged. Yeah, he comes back in the game week after. So anyone who does have Reece James, don't get him in just yet. Probably just get Christensen or Rudiger if anything. But yeah, for most people who are asking me about Reece James, it's mainly just looking at the future really. And of course, some tough fixtures coming up. But yeah, I wouldn't be too worried anyway. Benrahma for Rafinha, already have Mount. I mean, yeah, I'm assuming you're getting rid of Rafinha to get Benrahma in. Honestly, I'd probably keep Rafinha because even if he misses game week 4, yeah, I just think long term he's a good asset. Long term Leeds wise, Bamford or Rafinha, I'd probably say Rafinha because he offers better value for money in my opinion. And instead of Bamford, you can get Antonio, Calvert-Lewin and a premium striker. What do you think about wildcarding Saka in for 1 week, then swap what out next week for Rafinha? That could be a shout. He's got Norwich. That is actually something worth considering. I don't like booking in transfers on a wild card, but that could be decent. If you had both Salah and Ronaldo, Jesus Christ, that dog is loud. Who would you captain? Who would you sway to or make a difference if you took a hit to favour Ronaldo? At this moment in time, I'd say Salah because of the doubts surrounding Ronaldo. Reguilon or Christensen? I prefer Christensen. Did you wildcard? No, I didn't, and this definitely wouldn't be my wildcard team. I've shown my wildcard teams recently in several videos. Why Tony? I mean, this is not a wildcard team, by the way. This is just my current team. So just to show you, I was showing you my transfer plans. But yeah, you don't have to get Tony in on a wildcard. Should you invest in Wolves players? I think 1 or 2 is fine, to be honest. You don't have to, though. And I definitely wouldn't be tripling up. That's just kind of my personal opinion. Which is the best Wolves defender? I'd say Semedo, then Marçal and Cody. White, Tierney or Semedo? I think in terms of value for money, I prefer White, but Semedo's probably the best for the next 10 game weeks or so. So I'd say Semedo, then White, then Tierney. What's your reason behind keeping Torres? I mean, I'm not keeping him. He's just potentially coming in, but I rather would have Jota. I was just showing a possibility of making 2 free transfers, getting Ronaldo and Torres in, because if I get Jota, already got 3 Liverpool players, because I've got Tsimikas, I'd have to get rid of him. And then I have 4.8 million remaining, as you can see. And then I have to get in maybe a Wolves defender or something like that. So that's kind of why I'm not completely sure yet. I'm going to wait until either tonight or tomorrow to kind of finalise my moves. Should I get in Daniel James or Rafinha for Benrahma? Well, Daniel James will play in Game Week 4. I couldn't say the same about Rafinha. but long term, Rafinha's a better choice, so I would rather have Rafinha. What I would do in your situation, mate, is keep Benrahma for now, because remember, he plays Southampton and he can do really well, and then next week, get Rafinha in. That's what I would do in your situation. Oh, thank you. Speclife says, this squad looks like shit. Thank you very much. Do I take a -4 to take Son out for someone? I mean, this is the thing. He probably won't be playing. So, yeah, I would consider it, to be honest. Will Firmino start? No, he won't. Forget about the Brazil thing. He's literally been ruled out by Jurgen Klopp. -8 for Lukaku, Jota, Christensen, or -4 for Lukaku, Sarr, Tsimikas, so can't get Jota. That's tough. I mean, I have to be honest, those transfers for a -8 look really good. So I would rather have that. But then again, a -8, you will be pushed back a lot in the rank at this stage of the season. That's why I try to avoid it if possible. But those moves for the -8 look better in my opinion. Will Dan James start for Leeds? I think if Rafinha's out, he'd definitely start. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. So yeah, I'd probably say he starts if Rafinha is not going to play. Is DCL or Jimenez worth a hit? I think both of them are long term. They're two of the best strikers you can get considering the fixtures and form, especially with DCL. But DCL is flagged. I honestly prefer DCL though, if you're asking me. Benrahma for Rafinha? Yeah, I would keep Benrahma for now. Get Rafinha in Game Week 5. Ali says, Bruno and Obafemi to Basuma and Ronaldo for a -4. I wouldn't do that, to be honest. Lukaku at home against Villa's sub-keeper. That has to be captain, right? Yeah, I think Lukaku and Salah and Antonio probably are the best captaincy options. Obviously, Ronaldo and Bruno are also up there. We just don't know the nature of United's team for sure. Which is the Wolves... this guy. Is Duffy, Alan Williams a good enough bench? I think so long as Duffy continues to play, I think it's fine, to be honest. But if he doesn't, that's when it becomes a concern. DCL plus 5.9 million mid or Jimenez plus Rafinha? Rafinha on the bench, long-term buy. Good question. I mean, as a duo, I would rather have Jimenez and Rafinha, to be honest, but it's both really good. Digne or Christensen? Definitely Christensen for me. Is this a good team? Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Semedo, Benrahma, Salah, Jota, Traore, Ronaldo, DCL, Antonio for Game Week 4. Yeah, I think that's really solid, to be honest. Jota or Son for the midterm? I'd say Jota because I think he's going to start for the next 2 or 3 game weeks at least, and then you could wildcard if you haven't already. Ronaldo and Jota to Mount and Lukaku when games get good? Yeah, I think that's a possibility, to be honest. I'm not too sure about Mount as an FPL asset, but I think he will do better than last season. Salah will start, right? Update on Son's injury. Will he be there for this game week? Well, Son has a calf injury. Nuno seemed a bit, I'd say, worried and also just not convinced about him playing in Game Week 4. So I'd be concerned about him. Salah should be fine. Your thoughts on Dele Alli? Wanted to have Spurs cover, can't afford Kane and Son. If not, then who for equal or lower price apart from Rafinha? Yeah, good point. I'd say Traore or Sarr or Damari Gray would be the kind of other ones. With Spurs, I think it's Son, Kane, and then you're looking at the defenders, really. Bergwijn could be an interesting one as well. He's been doing really well this season, but yeah, I mean, Dele Alli, he's decent, but not really someone I'd think about. Hey Dylan, hope you're well, man. What a week it's been. What a nightmare for FPL managers this week. Jota and Lukaku in for Bruno and Ings for me. Good luck to everyone. That looks sensational, to be honest, and I'm actually tempted by Lukaku right now, based on what's been said about Ronaldo. So that actually could be really good, Nick, and yeah, hopefully you're well too. Thank you for tuning in, mate. Get Region, says Toyong. Well, that's a good shout, but if I get Jota in and Ronaldo, I can't afford it. I mean, unless I get Lukaku in instead, that could be something I'd look at. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll go for, to be honest. Let me actually show you. Yeah, let's put Lukaku in. He's cleared. He's no longer flagged. And by the way, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are so many players flagged. Maybe over 100, 122. Something like that I heard. It's something crazy like that. But yeah, feel free to let me know if it's different. I mean, yeah, getting Lukaku in would actually be really good. The only way it could backfire is if Bruno starts. Well, he will start. But if Ronaldo starts as well or doesn't start. And yeah, Bruno is not going to be the talisman. But I'm not sure about that. I mean, Lukaku actually. I'm in second thoughts now. That's why I'm chatting gibberish. I think, yeah, Lukaku looks really good. That's a really good idea, Nick, to be honest. It's something I've considered, but Jesus Christ. When is KDB coming back, I'm assuming, Pepe? He's going to be back in Game Week 4, but probably on the bench. Same with Foden. I think he's going to be starting again from Game Week 5 onwards. The way I see it panning out is he's benched in game week 4, might come on for a cameo against Leicester, and then he starts in the Champions League, or I'd say gets 60 minutes under his belt in preparation for game week 5. Diaz and 4 very bad bench players, or Tierney and 4 decent bench players with 0.5 million in the bank. This is the thing though. Very bad bench players. I mean, wait, 4 very bad bench players. Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about the goalkeeper too. You'd want to have 1 decent bench player. You don't have to have 4 decent bench players, but at least have 1, in my opinion. So maybe from what you propose, I'd say Tierney and the 4 decent ones. Greenwood or Jota? I prefer Jota, mate. Oh, Jesus. I'm loving this more and more, what I see here. And then, yeah, I could get Christensen. Oh, my God. This looks amazing. Well, maybe not. Maybe not, but yeah. That's interesting. Is DCL playing this game week? He's a doubt. This is the thing. He's in training, but that doesn't mean he's going to start. If you're asking me, I think there's a chance of him being benched, to be honest. When will you confirm your final team? As soon as I make the transfers, mate. As soon as I make them, I will confirm it to you lot. So either tonight or tomorrow morning, and you'll see it on the YouTube community tab. Is it worth choosing a Lukaku over a Trent? Once I'm sure DCL is healthy, I would sell Lukaku, Ronaldo, and buy Arnold back. Good question. I would rather have Arnold, but Lukaku is looking really good, to be honest. Bad thing, I have to take out Tsimikas for a hit to get Jota. Would love to do Bruno, Ings to CR7 Jota for free, but can't. Also, captaining Ronaldo makes me feel better without the hit. Yeah, the reason why I'm a bit put off by Ronaldo taking a hit for him is because it could just immediately backfire. You know, taking a hit to get rid of Bruno, to get Ronaldo, who might not even start, just doesn't sit right with me. And if Tsimikas plays, which is unlikely, but still could happen, I don't know, there's just so much that could go wrong, but I personally think that Ronaldo will start. I'm just not completely sure about it. No one is, unless you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Who do you think I should change Callum Wilson to? It'll have to be a -4 hint. I'm thinking Jimenez maybe. If you don't have Antonio already, definitely him, but I'm assuming you do, so I'd say DCL or Jimenez. Tanganga over Reguilon? I would say yes, but Tanganga could lose a spot to Emerson Royal, so maybe consider Dyer instead, or Sanchez when he's back from quarantine. Is Semedo enough to cover the good fixtures for Wolves, or should I take Traore too? I think it's enough cover for now. Remember, you still have 10 game weeks to kind of, wait and assess. So you could wait 1 or 2 game weeks, see how Wolves pan out, with 1 player already in your team. And then if they do really well or show signs of promise, you can then add another one to your squad. So you don't have to rush in already. Need a Rafinha replacement for this game week? Well, if you need to replace him, then I'd be considering Traore or Sarr, unless you have enough money to get Torres. Also, I'd say, the usual ones, Torres and, Greenwood and Jota, yeah. You got a league? Yeah, it's on the left-hand side of your screen where it says league, just under it, 886RGT. If you check the description below, there's an auto-join link and also a league code which you can copy and paste. Traore or Sarr or Trincao? I prefer Sarr, to be honest. Then it'd be Traore, then Trincao, because as much as I think Trincao's a decent player, I'm not sure if he's going to start when Podence comes back. Aren't Chelsea fixtures a bit hard for defenders? Well, honestly, I would be a bit more worried about Lukaku, if anything, and the attackers. I think Chelsea defence is so good, it's almost fixture-proof. So unless they're facing City or United potentially, or Liverpool, I'd expect them to keep a clean sheet against anyone. So, I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, obviously the fixtures after Game Week 4 are a bit tough up until Game Week 7. Ronaldo to start. I got him and Ronaldo at wildcard. Lukaku safe for captain? Oh, you got Lukaku and Ronaldo. I'd captain Lukaku, and I think Ronaldo will start, but don't hold me to that. What are your thoughts about Torres? He just played 90 minutes for Spain a few days ago. I prefer having Jota. That's kind of my simple answer. So I like Torres a lot, and I think so long as he starts, he's a great option. He can still do well off the bench. But yeah, I just think that if he's not benched in Game Week 4, it could be Game Week 5, and if not, Game Week 6. So you've got to be prepared for that. Dylan, after your suggestions, this is my team. Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Tanganga, Livramento, Williams, Salah, Jota, Benrahma, Gray, Sissoko, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Dennis. Got rid of Sarr and Traore for Jota and Sissoko. Thoughts? That looks really solid, to be honest. And if you're prepared to play Gray in some weeks, that's completely fine. And bear in mind that Tanganga could lose a spot to Emerson Royal, but it looks good, to be honest. Has there been any word on Son and Calvert-Lewin? Yeah, Nuno Espirito Santo basically said that Son has a calf injury and he wasn't too optimistic about him playing in Game Week 4, but he didn't really reveal anything concrete. But Son is a doubt, pretty much. And as for Calvert-Lewin, he's in training, but he's not at least confirmed to be fully fit. He's still flagged, so bear that in mind. Player of excellent form but tough fixture versus player of average form but decent fixture. Great question. This is the thing. In essence, what you're asking is form versus fixtures. I like to have a bit of both, and that's why I've been captaining Antonio recently and also Salah. Honestly, it's a really good question you make. The way you pose it in that situation, I would rather captain the player of excellent form, unless the fixture is like Liverpool, Chelsea, City or something. But yeah. Great stream, love your content, hope you are well. Is Alonso likely to keep his place against Villa? Seeing how the season has panned out so far, I think so, and it could be Chilwell actually playing in the Champions League, and maybe Tuchel will now, play Alonso in the league and then play Chilwell in the Champions League. Or maybe he will just start doing what he did before and play Chilwell against the tougher teams where he needs a bit more defensive solidity than Alonso, and against these kind of, lower teams where Chelsea are going to be attacking a lot more, that's when he opts for Alonso. But I think he will start in Game Week 4, but not too sure. Jota or Greenwood and Ronaldo or Lukaku? I think for the next 3 game weeks, I prefer Ronaldo, but long term, I'd probably say Lukaku. And then from game week 14, 15 onwards, when United have a great fixture run for a long time, that's when I'd rather have Ronaldo. And as for Jota or Greenwood, I'd say for the next 3-4 game weeks, maybe Jota, but I prefer Greenwood. So yeah. Ben White sucks. Yeah, well, I think he can still keep a clean sheet, hopefully. I got that exact team, just Soufal for Tony. Fair enough, yeah. I mean, Tony hasn't been doing too well recently, but I think he can get some returns. And Soufal as well, he's been underperforming a bit, but he's a decent option. Ings and Bruno out for Ronaldo and Greenwood. I have 2 free transfers. Those look good, to be honest, but just bear in mind that taking Bruno out for Ronaldo could backfire, But yeah, it makes sense. And if I didn't have to take a hit to get Jota and Ronaldo, I'd probably just get them in anyway. Who is the second best option in midfield after Jota, non-premium? Ooh, good question. I'd say Greenwood or Torres. Yeah, Jota for now, he does seem like the best around this price, but I like Greenwood and Torres a lot despite the kind of rotation risks. Is there anything on Rafinha starting? Nothing, and at this moment in time, he's not going to be playing. Will Lukaku start? Yeah, he probably will. He's been cleared by Tuchel. Only 2 players have been ruled out, including Kante. Which moves did you make? I haven't made any moves, mate, but I am thinking of potentially either getting Ronaldo or Lukaku in up front, getting Jota. I'd really like Jota, and depending on, obviously, if I get Lukaku or Ronaldo, I'd get maybe a Christensen or someone cheaper, but I'm not fully decided yet. I want to probably reflect on it even more, and then I will come to a decision. But yeah, I mean, we're getting so many more questions than answers during this international break. Sancho, Vardy, Veltman for Ronaldo, Semedo, and Torres for a -4. I mean, they look like good transfers, to be honest. I'd probably take the hit, but yeah. Decent players are getting out, but I'd probably take the hit. Any tips for my team? Sanchez, Trent, Cancelo, Duffy, Salah, Bruno, Benrahma, Jota, Antonio, and Armstrong. I changed Son to Jota due to Son's injury. I like the team. It's a solid team. I'd just be worried about Duffy going forward in terms of starting, but yeah, it's a good team, to be honest. Duffy would be the only concern, potentially. And Benrahma, you can move on to Rafinha in Game Week 5 onwards. Armstrong, one of the best options around his price, but I'm not too convinced by him. Took a -4 for that, but I think it was worth it. Yeah, I think it was worth it too, to be honest. It's a good team. Foyer says Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Cody, Salah, Jota, Benrahma, Sarr, Ronaldo, DCL, Antonio, Steele, Ayling, Livramento, Allen on the bench, 0.1 million in the bank. Yeah, good team as well. Once again, ways to improve. I mean, the starting lineup at least is solid. There's not really anything you need to improve. Obviously, DCL and Ronaldo could be coming off the bench in Game Week 4, so bear that in mind, but solid team overall. Lukaku or Ronaldo? This is the tough one. I mean, I think in Game Week 4, Lukaku will outscore him, and looking long term, up until Game Week 12, 13, 14, I'd say Lukaku is the better pick, but Ronaldo is Ronaldo, and he's fixture proof, and he could outscore Lukaku still. Hi Dylan, why not Dyer plus Ronaldo over Christensen plus Lukaku? I mean, that is something else I could do, and I already talked about this, I could get a 4.5, 4.6 million defender instead, but I'm just not too sure. I think looking long term, Christensen and Lukaku could potentially be better picks, but then again, would I want Lukaku and Christensen in Game Weeks 5 and 6? Maybe not, to be honest. I think Chelsea face Spurs and City soon. I think Spurs they can get away with. Even City, to be fair, they've beaten them a few times recently, but I don't know. I think City have more than enough to cause a lot of problems for Chelsea. It's a lot to consider, to be honest. I mean, there's no right or wrong, and looking at the short term at least, I think maybe what you propose is better. But yeah, this is why I'm not fully decided yet. I've got a few ideas, but nothing concrete. I'm trying to avoid taking a hit if possible, but if needed, I will do it and get Jota in as well. Is Gilmour nailed on? I'd say he's relatively nailed, yeah, and he's just a 4.5 million bench fodder option. With Son out, would you keep Kane or swap to another premium? I'd keep Kane at this moment in time unless you don't have Lukaku and you want him, and he's probably a better option long term at this moment in time. Can we go without City players? Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're just constant rotation risks. You don't have to get them, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think you can go without them. And if you want one of their players, I'd probably recommend one of their defenders who is more nailed, like Diaz, maybe even Stones at this moment in time if Laporte is out with an injury, and then probably Ferran Torres in the midfield. Ramsdale or Pickford in Draft League this week, thanks. I'd probably say Pickford because Ramsdale is most likely not going to start, and Leno is still, I think, first choice, but of course, things can change. Calvert-Lewin going to start? I have a feeling he might come off the bench, but he can start. Yeah, same with you, Marco, with your question. Please give me feedback on this. Ronaldo, Antonio, DCL, Jota, Salah, Torres, Allen, Brownhill, Salah, Shaw, Reguilon, Trent, Duffy, Ayling, Sanchez, Steele. Yeah, thank you for your comment, mate. Really appreciate it. I like the team. I'd just be a bit worried about having two 4.5 million midfielders in Brownhill and Allen, who are not really going to offer you much. They're obviously just on the bench. They'll play, they'll get the 1, 2, 3 points, and that's it. Because that would probably mean playing 4 defenders in most weeks. And if Duffy loses a spot, you're going to sometimes have to be forced to play Ayling, and Leeds can be very vulnerable defensively. So I'd probably look to upgrade one of your 4.5 million midfielders if possible, but you'd have to downgrade someone else. Any thoughts on Gundogan and Smith Rowe? Thanks a lot for the good content. Thank you, mate. And look, Gundogan, I still maintain the same belief that he's not going to be as good of an asset as he was last season, but he's still a decent option. And of course, he scored a headed goal against Arsenal. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. And as for Smith Rowe, he should be fine. He's been in training. He had an illness which was not related to COVID, so he should be fine. And he could be really good in Game Week 4. But personally, I prefer Demarai Gray around the same price. Take a -8 or wild card. I don't like either, personally, but I would probably take the -8. I think a wild card, you'd want to be making 6, 7, 8 transfers at least. Calvert-Lewin has been flagged every week and he started. Yeah, exactly. That's true. I mean, yeah, I think you know what? There's just a chance of him coming off the bench. That's the way I see it. And he had an injury and then he got another one. But yeah, that's a good point. He might even start, to be honest. Thoughts on Marcel Wolves? I'm thinking of getting him in, mate. And around 4.5 million, he's one of the better options out there. But he might be displaced from time to time, especially during some of the easier fixtures for Wolves. And it could be Aït-Nouri instead, in a more kind of attacking setup for Bruno Lager. Is Torres nailed? Not completely nailed, but I'd say he's more nailed than he ever was before, of course. But he's going to be occasionally rotated, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Bruno, Son and Ings out. Ronaldo, Jota and for a -4. Ooh, good question. Ronaldo, Jota. I'd say Greenwood or Torres, and long term, looking at Game Week 5 onwards, I'd probably say Rafinha. But of course, you wouldn't want to get Rafinha in right now. Lukaku captain against Aston's second keeper, yeah. Looks like a plan, to be honest. I would do that if I got Lukaku in. Will Son start? I don't think so, but I could be wrong, mate. Mason Mount or Rafinha? In Game Week 4, Mason Mount. Long term, definitely Rafinha for me. Who would ever think Lukaku would be a differential? What a mad season already. Yeah, this is just the start, mate. I mean, be prepared for a lot more like this. Ronaldo, Salah, or Antonio for captain. I would have said Ronaldo before the kind of doubts we're getting from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So right now, I'd say Salah or Antonio. Marcel or White or Ayling. Looking at the next 10 game weeks, assuming Marcel continues to start, I'd go for him. Best Son replacement, I have Bruno and Salah. I'd probably downgrade to a 7 million midfielder. If you don't have Jota already, I'd definitely go for him. Lukaku, Ronaldo. Really tough. I'd say over the next 3 game weeks, yeah, probably Ronaldo. But for Game Week 4 in particular, and then perhaps long term, maybe Lukaku is the better pick. What do you think about a -8 to avoid wildcard? Yeah, I'd rather take a -8 than wildcard probably, although I wouldn't be too keen on that either. Sanchez, Shaw, Trent, White, Allen, Jota, Salah, Traore, DCL, CR7, Antonio. Really good teammate. Yeah, at least for this week. I don't like Allen, to be honest, but everything else looks fine. Semedo or Saiss. Saiss very attacking, set pieces for Wolves. Yeah, that's a good point. Saiss has typically been the best Wolves defender to own when he starts. But I'm just not so sure if he's completely nailed. I think Semedo is the most nailed Wolves defender. So I'd probably go for him. But yeah, Saiss is a good pick. Mount over Torres. I prefer Torres. Thoughts on Alonso? If he continues to start, then he's a great option and he's got so much attacking potential, just like Reece James. I'm not confident on having Sarr in the midfield. What do you think about Soucek and Fornals? I'd be more convinced about Fornals, not about Soucek though this season. Oh no. I just saw a comment by a Chelsea fan. I'm not even going to read that. Sure about Smith Rowe? I think he's a good option for Game Week 4 and he should be fit and available at least. But I prefer Gray. DCL will start for sure, potentially. Can I start Tsimikas or is it a risk if he comes on for 5 minutes? It is a risk, to be honest. If Robertson starts, I could see him, coming off for Tsimikas and that will obviously backfire. Say Maximan or Tony. I'd rather have Tony, especially with Wilson out. Best 5 million defender, Christensen, mate. Hello, I'm sorry for the long text, but what would you change? I have these field players: White, Digne, Trent, Tsimikas, Shaw, Grealish, Basuma, Salah, Bruno, Soucek, Ings, Antonio, Dennis. Yeah, I mean, I like the team. Just a bit concerned that you have Basuma, Soucek and Dennis. I'd probably look to upgrade one of them, but the rest looks solid, to be honest. Not a big fan of Grealish, but he's still a decent option that's ticking over. Replacement for Son, Jota, if you haven't got him already. And if not, Greenwood, Torres, Rafinha long term, but don't get him in right now. And then, yeah, you'd be looking at cheaper options like Sarr or Traore. Is Benrahma a good choice? I still think he is. I wouldn't be getting rid of him now, but one thing you could do is keep him now for Game Week 4 and then in Game Week 5 get Rafinha in for him. Fair play to you answering these questions. I personally wouldn't be bothered, but respect. Well, thanks. Joined your league. Jakalaka boom, look out for it. Got a solid team, lol. Well, good luck to you, mate. And yeah, good luck to everyone who has joined the league. And yeah, everyone who is watching, of course. Remember to smash the like button. You think Duffy continues to start? Tough one. I mean, Veltman is first choice, really. And he is back. It's a 50-50. Duffy's been in great form. That's what maybe could incline Potter to continue starting him. I think he might start for another game week or two, but long term, I'm not convinced. Mahrez, Bruno, and Tony out for CR7, Torres and Jota for a -4. Looks good, to be honest. I'd probably take the hit, but of course, Bruno, getting rid of him, it can backfire. And even Tony, he can do decent. If Rafinha doesn't play, Sissoko auto subs in. Should I transfer him out for Traore or Gray and getting back in later? Yeah, I wouldn't be too kind of confident about Sissoko. That's a tough situation. Long term, though, I'd like to avoid the transfer and just keep Rafinha. So it's a difficult situation you're in. If you have a defender to cover, potentially, then I just keep Rafinha for now. Thank you, Chu. Really appreciate it for your comment. And yeah, I try my best, of course. There's a lot of comments, though, and I appreciate everyone who has sent in their thoughts and suggestions. Tierney or Christensen? I prefer Christensen. Armstrong as a cheap option. Around his price, him, Pookie and Tony are the best, but I'd rather have the 7.5, 8 million options and also a premium, to be honest, but he is a decent option. Bench Marçal or Traore for Benrahma? I'd probably bench Marçal, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Traore blanks too. That's the thing. Marçal and a bench of Livramento and Duffy, or Semedo and a bench of Williams and Hoover? Good question. I'd probably go for Semedo. What do you think about the NI increase? Yeah, I'm probably stupid there. I'm not even sure what that's on about. Yeah, remind me, obviously. My bad for that. We have the same team except you have Benrahma in for Barnes. Yeah, I made that transfer last week ahead of Game Week 3. So yeah, that would make sense. The template is very strong right now. Sissoko or Allen or Gilmore? Not much to choose between them. I'd argue Brownhill is as good, if not better than them. I'd probably go for Sissoko or Gilmore. I traded out White for Tsimikas stupidly a couple of weeks ago, thinking Tsimikas could push out another game. Could be a devastating difference just for one small. Yeah, but I wouldn't be too worried about that, to be honest. I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's fine. These things can happen, of course, and they're just budget options, really. Is Keller going to start versus Leeds? I think so. He's the second choice in my opinion, and it's Adrian third, so I think he will start, and I probably butchered his pronunciation, by the way. Armstrong or Pukki? Because of the team he's playing for, I'd probably prefer Armstrong, but not too keen on either of them personally, but they are two of the best options around his price. Is Son and Ings out for Kane and Gray and keep Bruno for this week? Yep, those look good transfers, to be honest. I'd just be a bit concerned about some of the fixtures coming up for Spurs, but Kane can still do well. Do you prefer DCL or Bamford? I prefer DCL, but Bamford is also one to look out for. What are the chances of Torres starting with him playing 90 minutes on an international game? I'd say it's a 70% chance, especially if Jesus is out. He's just been in such fine form. It's very difficult to drop him, but what City could do is bench Torres now and then play him in the Champions League against Leipzig, or it could just be vice versa. And kind of backing up my theory of De Bruyne and Foden starting in the Champions League and being benched in Game Week 4, it could be Torres starting in this week. So personally, I think Torres will start, but there is a chance that he is benched, of course. Trincao or Torres? I'd probably say Traore. Torres. I said Torres. Yeah, Traore. I'd say because he's just more nailed. But otherwise, Trincao would be one to look out for. Did my transfers Ings and Soufal out? Lukaku and Duffy in? Yeah, that looks fine. To be honest, obviously Duffy could be benched in future. DCL fit? I think he is. And to be honest, he's been flagged all season, as many viewers have pointed out, rightly so. So yeah, he might actually even start, but of course there's the slim chance he comes off the bench. Jimenez or Calvert-Lewin? I prefer Calvert-Lewin, but of course Jimenez is more likely to start in Game Week 4. Lukaku plus Jota or Ronaldo plus Havertz? Oh, that is tough. I prefer Lukaku and Jota, but both really good. Don't you think FPL pricing is stupid? When player price increases, you only get 0.1 for every 0.2 increase. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's to prevent people kind of just building ridiculous team values and stuff and just changing to whoever they want. But, I mean, it's something I'm kind of used to by this point. Of course, the price rises and falls can be very frustrating, but it's not something I pay too much attention to be honest. Traore or Trincao, or go for Sarr? I prefer Sarr personally, but Traore is, looking at the next 10 game weeks, maybe the best pick, but I'd go for Sarr. Allen or Sissoko? Not much in it. There's not really much to say about them. I'd probably say Sissoko, but yeah. Sanchez, Trent, Rudiger, Dyer, Salah, Traore, Havertz, Benrahma, Ronaldo, Antonio, Maupay, Steele, Amati, Williams, Sissoko. Good team. Maupay's been in very good form, but he also had a very good start last season and then tailed off, so I'd be concerned about him. Havertz is an interesting pick. I do prefer having Lukaku and the Chelsea defenders, but you got Rudiger. That's really good. Yeah, that's a good team, to be honest. I'd just be a bit concerned about Maupay. What a legend. Great stream. Thank you, mate, and good to see you here again. Ronaldo, Jimenez and DCL, or Lukaku, Jimenez and Antonio. Also, is it a good idea starting both Benrahma and Antonio against Southampton? I think so. You know, Southampton are a team to target, in my opinion, and Antonio and Benrahma have been two of the best FPL players this season, so I wouldn't be benching any of them if you had them. And Ronaldo, Jimenez and DCL, Lukaku, Jimenez and Antonio, really tough. I'd probably say Lukaku. Actually, that's tough. That's really tough. I'd probably say Lukaku, Jimenez and Antonio, but that's tough, yeah. Which two are on the team? Ings, Cody, Ben White. Ooh, I'd probably start Cody and Ben White, but yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if all three blanked. I think Ben White is the least likely to bank, but we'll see. Best 4.5 million defender except for Wolves? I'd be looking at either Ayling, Ben White, Tomiyasu, or a Spurs defender. But I think Eric Dyer is 4.6, that's the thing. And Davinson Sanchez is actually quarantining, so he can't play in Game Week 4. And then Tanganga also went up recently in price. Is starting Tsimikas not smart if he comes on for a 5-minute appearance? Yeah, just like I said before, I'd probably avoid starting him just in case, unless we get an inkling later on with the embargoed comments that he is going to actually play. Do you think DCL will start? His game isn't until Monday. Yeah, that's true. That's what could play in his favour. He's got 1 or 2 more training sessions to go. Yeah, you know what? I'd probably say he starts, but there's a 30-40% chance he comes off the bench. Is Podence a good idea player to bring in at 5.5? I think his ownership is 0.0 or something, or maybe 0.1 now. which is crazy to be honest. I think he could be one to get in, and he could be ahead of the curve. So instead of getting Gray or Smith Rowe or Odegaard, Podence could be the one, but I wouldn't be bringing him in just yet because Bruno Lager might still persist with Trincao for the time being, and Podence comes on as an impact sub, building his fitness. News on Robertson? No news to be honest from Jurgen Klopp, I think. So yeah, it could be Robertson starting once again. Which is the 4.5 million player you would sub on for Rafinha if he is not playing? 4.5 million player. I mean, if you're on about midfielders, I'm not sure. Probably Sissoko or Brownhill, but not too keen on them. I'd rather obviously bring a defender on in that case. Mount or Torres? I prefer Torres. Kane and Rafinha to CR7 and Jota. Good moves to be honest. Is Ings to DCL worth it this week? I think it is, especially if you back DCL to start. Son needs to go and no transfer left. -4 or wildcard. Already have Jota, Salah, Greenwood. One next pick. Traore or Saka? Saka I think he'll outscore Traore this week potentially, but I wouldn't wildcard. Honestly, I'd either take a -4 or keep Son for now. Will Rafinha play? I don't think he will in Game Week 4, and he's playing Liverpool, so it's not really a big miss in my opinion. I have the same team, but with Son. So do I remove him for Torres and Jota? I'd probably remove him for Jota, yeah. Brownhill or Basuma? Not much in it. I prefer Brownhill slightly because Basuma's more likely to get a yellow or red card. Best 4.3 million defender. I mean, we're really looking at no one at around that price. Is Ben White 4.3? I think it's 4.4. Yeah, I'd probably say Livramento or Duffy. Gray or Traore, Jota or Torres? I'd go for Jota and I'd go for Gray. Personal opinion there. If you already got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you could always go for Traore, but I'd go for Gray and Jota. Hi Dylan, I have the same team as you except White and Tony. Instead I have DCL and Duffy. I need to get rid of Ings and Tsimikas but don't have enough funds. Any suggestions? I have 0.3 million. Ooh, yeah. DCL and Duffy, yeah, that's good. I'd rather have DCL as well. You might have to get a 4 million defender for Tsimikas, and then, yeah, instead of Ings, you can get Jimenez, for example. That's what you could do. But to be honest, yeah, if you downgrade Ings to Jimenez, you have more money to spend. You could potentially upgrade Tsimikas to Semedo even. So that's something to think about. Son out for how long? Not for too long, I suspect, but potentially for Game Week 4 and probably back for Game Week 5. Could you rate my team? Want to get it right before the deadline? Sanchez, Trent, Reguilon, Shaw, Salah, Jota, Benrahma, Traore, Antonio, Ronaldo and DCL with a bench of Steele, Williams, Sissoko and Duffy. Really good team. I'd be a bit worried if Duffy doesn't start. Going forward, you might lack a bit of squad depth, but other than that, it's fine. You've got some very good players in there. Yeah, I mean, obviously Ronaldo and DCL are slight doubts for this week, but going forward, they should be fine. Should I captain Ronaldo or go with Salah as the safe pick? If you back Ronaldo to start, you can always go for him, but I think Salah is just a safer pick. Vardy for Lukaku? I'd probably get Lukaku in for Vardy, yeah. Lucas says Sarr, Duffy, Trent, Shaw, Salah, Jota, Traore, Vlasic, DCL, Ronaldo, Antonio, McGovern, Sissoko, Livramento, Williams. Any changes? Good team. Obviously, Vlasic is a new signing for West Ham. I'd be a bit concerned about him starting, though. I think he might just be on the bench, so I'd consider getting rid of him, but the rest looks good. Best 1 week punt midfielder for 6.9 million or less? Great question. I would probably say Ismaila Sarr. I have a good feeling about him this week, so I'd probably go for him. But I don't really like these kind of 1 week punts too often, to be honest. Will Antonio keep up with his form when Europa League kicks in? I think it will deteriorate. He won't be getting too many double-digit returns. Of course, I could be completely wrong about that. And there could also be rotation from time to time, whether it's in the Europa League or in the league, especially when the knockout's coming, if West Ham advance that far. But yeah, I still think he's a good option. Just have to hope he remains fit. DCL Jimenez, I like Jimenez a lot, but I prefer DCL. Which is the better on the bench, Brownhill or Basuma? I prefer Brownhill. Will Brazilians play? Not at this moment in time, unless the Brazilian Federation do a massive U-turn. Sarr or Traore? I prefer Sarr. If you have to take a -8, would you wildcard or leave it? I'd take the -8. I wouldn't wildcard, especially if you haven't even made 6 transfers at least overall. Ings, Bruno and Tsimikas to Ronaldo, Jota and who? Best defender within 4.3 million budget? Like I already said, it'd probably be Duffy or Livramento. And yeah, I'd probably say Greenwood or Torres. No Ronaldo. Well, I haven't made my transfers yet, mate. I've got 2 free transfers. I might get Ronaldo. I might even get Lukaku or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Everything's up in the air right now. I would either keep Bruno or get rid of him, of course, and maybe a defender transfer as well, especially if I get Jota in. Is Livramento worth it, or should I get Brandon Williams instead? There's not much in it, and Livramento is slightly more expensive. Both play for, I'd say, quite poor defences, but Southampton are slightly better, and Livramento has a bit more attacking potential in my opinion, so I'd probably go for Livramento, but there's not much in it. Not right now, anyway. Torres or Jota? I prefer Jota. Salah or Jota captain? I prefer Salah. Lukaku or Ronaldo? Really tough one, to be honest. I think in Game Week 4, Lukaku will outscore him, but I could be wrong. And looking up until Game Week 13-14, Chelsea have better fixtures. How long till Greenwood is dropped? Not for now, anyway. I'd say Game Week 5 or 6 is when we could see that happening, especially with the Champions League coming into play. And either way, he can still be in and out of the side. But of course, long term, he is a bit of a rotation risk. Is it worth taking a -4 getting Bruno out for Ronaldo? I think it could be, but it also could backfire big time. You know, it ultimately depends on if Ronaldo starts and what transpires from that point onwards. But yeah, I think it could be worth it. It's just, I couldn't tell you for sure, obviously. I'm just giving my opinion. So Brazilian's not playing, right? Yeah, only Richarlison, because Everton have a very good relationship with the Brazilian Federation. Is Ronaldo going to start, mate? I think he will, but based on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's comments, he literally was saying, you know, like when he comes on, like I have to get the exact quote on, but yeah, he made it seem like he's going to come off the bench. You know, at some point he's going to play. It just makes it sound like he's just benched, but I think he's trolling, to be honest. Gray with a good bench and 0.8 million left in the bank, or Jota with a bad bench and 0 left in the bank? Look, I just ultimately prefer Jota for the 3-4 game weeks. If your team is good enough and you don't need cover, then fair enough, I'd go for Jota, but I always would want to have one decent option on the bench, even if it's a 4.4 million defender like Ben White in my case. Is Ronaldo starting? I think he is, but don't hold me to that. Aubameyang, yes or no? For Game Week 4, yes. Long term, probably not, because Kane, Lukaku, Ronaldo, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, even Jimenez probably are all better. Arsenal defence, Tierney, Ben White, Tomiyasu, potentially. I wouldn't be looking at the others. Hey Dylan, I just tuned in. Is Ronaldo nailed on starting? No, he isn't. Not nailed on, but I think he will start. Adama, Trincao, Torres or Sarr for the next 3 game weeks. Need a replacement for Bruno. I have 2 free transfers left, getting Ronaldo in. Yeah, once again, like I said, I just don't think Ronaldo's completely nailed. I have to make that very clear. But in my opinion, he's got a good chance of starting. It's just Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's being a troll. Adama, Trincao, Torres or Sarr for the next 3 game weeks. Look, honestly, you know, kind of forgetting the rotation risk, I prefer Torres out of all of them. But Sarr's an interesting one. I think he's been underrated a little bit. Hey Dylan, Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Marcel, Salah, Benrahma, Jota, Traore, DCL, Antonio, Ronaldo, White, Duffy, Allen. Yeah, solid team. I think I went over this team already, but yeah, it's a good one. Do you think Torres's and Lukaku's price will rise in the next couple of weeks? I think if Torres starts yet again, I think it will. Yeah, and also Lukaku, he could get 2 or 3 goals against Villa, and a lot of people bring him in already ahead of, you know, the game week 7 fixtures onwards. Avoid Arsenal. I mean, I already have Ben White from the beginning. I'm not going to be making a transfer right now. But fair enough. I wouldn't be, you know, going on my way to get an Arsenal player. Torres or Greenwood? I slightly prefer Greenwood, but that could easily change when he starts being benched. Is my team good? Marcel, Shaw, Trent, Jota, Salah, Traore, Benrahma, Lukaku, Antonio, DCL? Definitely. Not really a weak link there. Of course, I'm not a big fan of Traore, but he's got the stats, he's got the fixtures, so it's a good team. Any changes? Sanchez, Arnold, Shaw, Semedo, Gilmore, Salah, Jota, Benrahma, Antonio, DCL, CR7, Steele, Williams, Livramento, Rafinha. I like that team. Rafinha from Game Week 5 onwards looks good. Of course, he probably won't be playing in Game Week 4. Looking at your defence, yeah, you'd probably have to play Williams or Livramento in Game Week 4. That could be an issue, but long term you should be fine. It's a good team. Thanks, Dylan, for your help again. Enjoying your stream, and I've never missed one. Good luck for the game week. Really appreciate it, mate. And yeah, thank you so much, for always tuning in, and good luck with game week 4. Like and subscribe, everyone. 300 plus. Watching, only 81 likes. Actually, I haven't even seen the likes. This guy's been answering some questions over an hour. Give him his credit. Thank you, Bonnie. Really appreciate it. Of course, it's always like that. A lot of people watch, but not everyone will like, and it's kind of natural. But yeah, really appreciate your shout out, and good luck with game week 4, mate. -4 and Rafinha out. I wouldn't take a -4 to get Rafinha out unless you absolutely have to and you have no one else to cover, but I wouldn't do that personally. Can you still make changes after using the wild card? Yeah, after you use the wild card and you've got it activated, you can still make changes, but once the deadline passes, you cannot make any more changes. Is Sissoko the best 4.5 million option? Potentially. I'd say him or Brownhill, maybe even Gilmore, but we haven't seen enough yet from the 4.5 million options to kind of determine that. Ollie trolling, CR7 will start. Triple captain. What? Triple captain? That is bold. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but I think you might be right about Ollie trolling, to be honest. Benrahma out or nah? Keep him for now. I think Southampton's a good fixture. Then maybe get rid of him for Rafinha. Will DCL play? I think so, to be honest. Do you think Skip will start for Spurs? Well, Skip has been starting. The problem is he's an injury doubt. So I'm not even too sure. I didn't hear anything about Skip from Nuno Espirito Santo. But, you know, based on the fact we haven't heard much, maybe the injury isn't too bad. But, yeah, I think he will start. If he's fit, he will definitely start. And his record is actually very good for Spurs in the Premier League. He's played 18 games, 14 wins, 4 draws, no losses. That team looks like more than 100 million. The one on screen, it isn't, mate. I mean, it probably is based on team value because obviously player prices go up. And it goes for anyone, you know. If someone's price goes up or down, that will affect your team value. You could have less than 100. You can also have more than 100. Should I bring in Lukaku? I think, you know, he's a good option. Same with Calvert-Lewin and Ronaldo. Obviously, you've got to bear in mind Game Week 5 and 6, tough fixtures for Chelsea, but I think he's fixture-proof. But then again, Lukaku against big teams, we have to wait and see. He hasn't got a great record against them, but he is much improved since his last stay in the Premier League. De Gea or Sanchez? I prefer Sanchez. Also, De Gea blocks a potential United spot. Could be Bruno, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, also Greenwood, Ronaldo, etc. Will you get Ronaldo for this game week? Potentially. I'll be confirming all of my transfers in the community tab because right now I don't want to just be forced or rush a transfer. I want to give it as much thought as possible. The last few days, if I'm being honest, obviously I've given it thought. I did my team selection video. I talked about my plans, but then obviously the press conferences today have kind of changed things slightly, or at least not made me as confident in Ronaldo starting. I still think he will, but we can't say that with any degree of certainty. So yeah, I might get Ronaldo in, I might get Lukaku, maybe even Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And Jota is kind of the one I'm most keen on in the midfield, but then again, who knows at this point, There's so many different avenues I can do. If I get Lukaku instead of Ronaldo, it gives me 5.8 million to spend on my defenders and I can get a Chelsea one, for example, and I really like their defence. Who is the best differential player in your opinion, mate? I mean, looking at a crazy differential right now, assuming he starts, I'd say Podence, really. But yeah, other than that, I mean, differentials, really hard to come by at this moment in time. Are you going to -4 to get Jota? Potentially. That's if I get Ronaldo in. But otherwise, yeah, I'd have to probably. Unless I keep Ings, which I'm not too keen on. Yeah, if I get Jota in, I'd have to take a -4 potentially. Should I bring in Lukaku and Jota for Bruno and Ings? Those look like two good transfers. I'd probably go ahead with them, but Bruno can do really well. Just bear that in mind. And yeah, try not to spam the chat, please. Would you take a -4 hit to bring in Ronaldo and DCL or just bring in one of them? I'd say just bring in one of them. They're both doubts for this week to start anyway. I think DCL is more likely to start than Ronaldo, but I could be wrong about that. Both good moves. Late, but I'm here. Hope you had a good week. Gonna do Ronaldo and Mount in today for Ings and Bruno. Blocked from Jota, so going a bit risky. Thank you, Harry, for tuning in once again. And those looks like good moves, to be honest. Ronaldo and Mount. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people actually mention Mount at the moment, and I think he will have a better season FPL-wise than the last. Those look good. Obviously, I prefer Greenwood, Jota and Torres over Mount, but that could be the way to go. Son and Antonio versus Lukaku and Saka. I prefer Son and Antonio, but the problem is Son is probably not going to play. So in that case, have Antonio, but get another one instead of Son. What is with Rafinha? Well, he's probably not going to play in Game Week 4. He's playing Liverpool anyway, so that's the situation there. Does wildcard count as a transfer? No, it doesn't. So you've got 2 free transfers. If you play your wildcard, it doesn't matter. You're obviously just going to be ending up with 1 free transfer going into the next week. That's pretty much how it always goes. Ronaldo or Lukaku? For Game Week 4, I prefer Lukaku, but for the next 3 game weeks, Ronaldo is obviously my favourite out of the two. And then looking long term, it's pretty much Lukaku. So arguably you could say Lukaku, to be honest. It's a tough one. It's 50-50. If Ronaldo starts in game week 4, then you can just get him in for now and then get Lukaku in game week 7. Son is confirmed not playing. Not really, but Nuno wasn't being confident in what he was saying. He seemed a bit doubtful of Son being in the squad. So that's something to look at, of course. Always check the manager's actual quotes because sometimes they can be misinterpreted, especially for clicks and stuff like that. But it is a chance that he doesn't play. I'm on wildcard. Should I sell Son? On a wildcard, I probably would anyway, yeah. Benrahma worth a captaincy shout? Potentially, yeah. I prefer Antonio though. Ings and Woods replacements? Calvert-Lewin for Ings or Antonio and for Woods? Probably, if you're looking at kind of cheaper strikers, Ivan Toney, Armstrong even, or Pukki. But honestly, I would rather kind of upgrade. If you can, Jimenez for Wood and Calvert-Lewin for Ings. I'm assuming you have Antonio already. Got Chris Wood in last week and he returned. Is he a good pick for this week? I mean, they do play Everton. I think Burnley could potentially nick a goal, but I don't see them scoring 2 or 3. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. He's a decent option, I guess, this week, but I wouldn't be too confident about him. Is Ederson going to play? Well, at this moment in time, he won't, and it'll be Scott Carson instead because of the kind of the 5-day rule that the Brazilian Federation triggered through FIFA. Should I transfer Ronaldo out for Kane? I'm assuming you're on a wild card. I wouldn't be getting rid of Ronaldo if you've got him in already, and same with Kane. So if you're on a wild card, maybe just go for Kane. He's more likely to start, but I just rather would have Ronaldo at this moment in time. So I just say keep Ronaldo. You reckon Ronaldo will start because Ollie said he will feature? Well, this is the thing, Ollie, he said he will feature at some point, and of course, the way it sounds is he's going to come off the bench. But I don't know, it's kind of a gut feeling I have, you don't have to hold me to that, it's just my opinion. I think that he still has a chance of starting. I couldn't tell you with any certainty. That's why I'm even kind of second guessing my own transfer plans from before, and I might not even get Ronaldo in right now, but it's obviously a 50-50 decision and it can backfire, especially when you kind of involve hits and getting rid of Bruno. That could just be a catastrophe, to be honest, but obviously if you don't think he's going to start, don't get him in. Sarr versus Traore, I prefer Sarr, but Traore long term I think could be the better one, but I prefer Sarr. Lloris or Sanchez, I prefer Sanchez. Why shouldn't I captain Salah? I never said you shouldn't, to be honest, mate. I think Salah is a good captaincy shout. I'd say put Demarai Gray in. Everton have nice fixtures. True, but he's not someone I'd want to start most weeks. And if anything, I'm looking to upgrade Benrahma to Rafinha in game week 5 potentially. And I'm looking at other avenues and ways to improve my team. I'm happy with Salah, Jota and Greenwood, for example, for the time being. Ronaldo, Lukaku or Kane this week? I'd say for game week 4, considering the kind of doubts surrounding Ronaldo and all of this, I'd probably say Lukaku. And once again, try not to spam the chat because next time I probably won't be answering the question. Why shouldn't I captain Antonio? I mean, it's up to you who you captain really, about Antonio or Salah. I think they're the 2 best options this week, along with Lukaku and Ronaldo. There's no reason why you shouldn't captain Antonio or Salah really. If you're looking at it from a statistical point of view and the opponents, I think Antonio is the one to captain, and even Lukaku. But Salah against Leeds can still do the damage. It's up to you who you go for there. At this moment in time, I've got Salah as my captain, and I'm thinking of maybe Antonio as well. He could easily become my captain too. It's something that I'm going to finalise after this stream. Of course, you lot know what my ideas are, and they're not going to deviate too much afterwards unless I get a eureka moment really after the stream. But yeah, there's so many avenues, so many things to consider, and I'll let you guys know in the community tab. Honestly, I wouldn't worry about Jota so much. If you have Greenwood, he might be great alongside R7. I might just edge more points than Jota. Yeah, I mean, either way, it'd be having Jota and Greenwood at the same time. You're right, though. You don't have to take a hit to get Jota in. That's why I'm not making the transfers yet, and I'm thinking about it more, and I'm considering other possibilities. Really good point that you make, mate. White versus Williams. I mean, if you can afford it, I'd prefer White. Will DCL play start? I think he'll definitely be in the squad. Will he start? Gut feeling says yes, based on the fact that he's always flagged and still plays. Yeah, Lloris or Sanchez? Sanchez for me. How to replace Rafinha? Maybe, go for Sarr or Traore, I'd say, if you don't have enough money to upgrade to Torres, Greenwood or Jota. My forwards, Ronaldo, Lukaku and Antonio. Really good forwards, to be honest. You can't get much better than that. Loved your free hit video last week, lad. Thank you very much, Robert, and good to see you here again. Why not wildcard right now? What's up with wildcarding in Game Week 7, considering Ronaldo to Lukaku is easy, with $1 million in to bring a Chelsea defender? The reason why I'm not thinking of doing that is because with a -4, I can have a really good team in Game Week 4, 5 and 6. And also in Game Week 7, 8, or maybe even later, I'm going to have more data, more information available to me, and I'm going to be more convinced about my choices. A mistake I've made in years gone by is wildcarding too early, just because I want to make so many transfers, and I end up regretting a lot of them because I'm looking at the first few game weeks, I'm being a bit biased there, and I'm making poor decisions in that regard. So that's why I'm considering potentially saving my wildcard for later. I don't see the need to wildcard. And 1 second, just trying to remove the background noise. Apologies for that, lads. Apologies, lads and lasses. Here we are. We're back again. Should I put Amati in? I wouldn't be bringing him in because 1, he plays Man City, and 2, he's probably going to lose a spot to Vestergaard. Jota best around his price. Considering the fact that Firmino is probably going to be missing the next few weeks, I'd say so, but I also like Greenwood and Torres. You got patience, man. People asking the same questions. Oh, it's fine because sometimes people don't hear or they tune in late. So I understand that. Obviously, the thing that will be a bit less forgiving anyway is constant spamming. That's the only thing. But of course, I try my best anyway. Can I get rid of Ings for DCL? Yeah, that's a sensible move. Obviously, DCL is a slight injury doubt, or at least not to start, but I think it's a great transfer. I'm surprised you didn't put Ferran Torres in. It's a possibility. I might do that, and if not, I'll get Jota in instead. Semedo or White? There are different price points. It's hard to compare. Obviously, you could have both of them, if anything, but I'd probably say Semedo over a 10-game week period, and he's got a bit more potential, attacking potential. But what you could do is get Ben White, and instead of Semedo, get Christensen instead. Can I get rid of Ings for DCL? Yeah, definitely, mate. Thoughts on Trincao? I like him as a player, but I'm a bit worried because Podence is coming back, and he could lose his spot. Dyer or Ayling? Very tough, very, very tough. I think looking at the fixtures, Ayling is better for the next 5 to 7 game weeks, but Spurs have a better defence. Then again, though, I pointed this out earlier, Spurs have conceded the 3rd most shots of any team in this season. I think over 50, so they have been a bit lucky. I think even shots in the box, they conceded 31, so bear that in mind. They haven't been as good, obviously, defensively as we've been led to believe. In all honesty, Pogba will suffer with the reshuffling with Ronaldo coming in. Potentially, that's a really good point. Pogba could play as a pivot, Bruno as the attacking midfielder, Sancho, Greenwood on the wings, then Rashford when he comes back, and Ronaldo up top. So you make a great point there. And I never really expected him to maintain this assist rate he's doing. I think it will fall off regardless. Which Chelsea midfielders do you recommend? I'd probably say Mason Mount or Havertz. I wouldn't be looking at the others right now. Pulisic is too much of an injury concern, and he is injured once again. Kante won't offer you points, really, unless you're looking at UCL fantasy with ball recoveries, so I'd say Mount or Havertz. Already had a hit, but willing to go for a wild card. Does hits still exist after wild card? Once you play your wild card after taking a hit, those hits are wiped out, and you don't lose any points. Son, Pogba, Vardy out for Torres, Jota, Ronaldo for a -8 hit. I can understand those transfers. Son is a big concern. Pogba is probably not going to be getting points, and Vardy faces Man City. I'm not really a big fan of -8s, but I'd probably go ahead with that. Trent and Matip for upgrading DCL to Lukaku? Not for me, Nicola. I think Trent and DCL is a better duo than Matip and Lukaku. I can see why you want to do that, but yeah, I wouldn't do that in my opinion. Greenwood or Torres? I slightly prefer Greenwood, but Torres, if he's nailed, is fantastic value. I actually went for a free hit in the end, lad. Well, good luck, Robert. And you watched my free hit video as well. Maybe that played a part. So if it doesn't turn out right, I'll take responsibility for that. But good luck. Hopefully you do well. Subs in Wood, Livramento, White, as Rafinha not playing this week. I think Wood is fine, coming on. It's not ideal, but that's not too bad. And White, I think you got more than enough cover to, I'd say fill in for the absence of Rafinha. So I think that's fine. I'd probably put White in as your first sub. Already had a hit, but willing to, Monster Stream, Dylan, you're a machine. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Paul. I mean, I'm not a machine. I'm not a robot, obviously. But I really appreciate the comment, and good luck with Game Week 4. If you have any other questions, let me know. Would you bring in Ronaldo now before his price rises? As far as I'm concerned, he's not going to go up in price because he's just been added to the game, and the price rises will happen after the Game Week 4 deadline. If I'm mistaken, feel free to correct me in the comments section. But yeah, that's what I think is the case. Obviously, every other player that was transferred before Game Week 3... Yeah, before the Game Week 3 deadline passed, obviously their prices will be affected. Is it worth to take a -8 for Ronaldo? Long term, I think it could be, but I wouldn't do that. -4 max, because Ronaldo might not even start in Game Week 4, which is the kind of standout fixture for United for the time being. Talk about Aubameyang. I think he's a really good option for Game Week 4, a great differential captain. I highlighted him in my preview, but he's not someone I'd look at long term. Fernandes, DCL, Lukaku, Ronaldo, Gray, Lukaku. Yeah, I think I answered this already. Fernandes, DCL, Lukaku would be my preference. If you wildcard right now, who would you be your must-have pick? Ooh, what great question. I mean, I like to have medium to long-term players. So Jota's really good for the next 3 or 4 game weeks, but beyond that, not so sure. But I'd probably say Salah and Trent, some of these players in there, and either Shaw or a Chelsea defender. Those would be kind of some of my definite picks. They're not absolutely essential must-have, but yeah, I would want to have Salah, even Antonio, to be honest, and maybe even Calvert-Lewin or Lukaku or Ronaldo, having one of those 3 strikers I just mentioned. Cody or Marçal? I think Marçal offers a bit more attacking threat, but maybe slightly less nail than Cody. DCL Jimenez, I prefer DCL. What's your plan for Tsimikas? I'm potentially going to be taking a -4, getting Ronaldo, Jota, and maybe a Marçal in there. That's a possibility. But if I don't take a hit, I'm going to be keeping Tsimikas. I won't be getting Jota in, and I'll make another transfer instead. Maybe Ings to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Must-haves for the next 5 game weeks? I'd probably say Jota. For the next 5 game weeks, I'd say he's potentially a must-have. Or at least as close as you can get to that, to be honest. Best defender for 4.8 million and under. Dio have Ayling and Duffy. Yeah, I'd probably go for a Wolves, Spurs or Arsenal defender, and I'd mainly be looking at Wolves because of their fixtures long term. Of course, you're 0.1 million off Semedo, which is annoying. I'm in a similar position to you. I'd probably say Marçal, Cody, or Dyer, really. Is it too risky to take a hit to bring in Calvert-Lewin for Wilson? It's slightly risky, but I think it pays off anyway, because Wilson could be out for 2 to 3 weeks. Based on what Steve Bruce said, he could even be out until after the next international break. That's a possibility, and Calvert-Lewin is a better option, in my opinion, regardless. Can you show the best wildcard possible? Says Christopher. Well, after this stream is over, I invite you to watch my best wildcard team, which I've made already, and same with the best free hit team you can make. I've made a lot of videos about this, and I even made a wildcard stream where I actually showed a number of different drafts that you can make, as well as rating people's wildcard teams in a separate video. So I've made 3, 4, 5 videos on this, where you can obviously check them out. Just to kind of quickly make a wildcard team, I'd probably go for something like this. I'd go for Trent. I'd probably go for a Wolves defender. You could potentially go for Semedo. And I'd probably go for Christensen in the defence. That's something you could do. But if not, I think Shaw is, more than enough. Not really too much of an issue there. And then potentially a budget option like, let's say, Livramento or Duffy, depending on who you back to start. Livramento should continue to play. Same with Williams. I'm not so sure about Duffy though. That's kind of something to think about. Obviously Foster, you can get rid of him on a wild card. You can just get any random one. I'd go for Steele, but it doesn't really matter anyway. And let's see. So you could go for Lukaku or Ronaldo. It's up to you what you go for. Obviously the kind of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer comments have put me off him slightly, as you can tell. I would like to have Dominic Calvert-Lewin regardless. Or if not Jimenez, if you can't afford Calvert-Lewin. There's no right or wrong there. Instead of Benrahma, I mean, looking long term, I would want to have Rafinha, but because he's missing game week 4 and faces Liverpool anyway, maybe you could just... You know what, I'd go for Benrahma and then get Rafinha in a few game weeks time, maybe even game week 5. So I'd go for something like this. You could even go for Ferran Torres instead of Jota or Greenwood if you don't have enough money. So looking to find a bit more money here, I'd probably do this actually. Something similar to this, nothing perfect. There's ways to improve this, but yeah, like I said, I've already made a lot of drafts, and this is just yet another one. A few differences. You can do this, and if you want Ronaldo in, you can downgrade someone else, but I'd go for something similar, and I think it's pretty decent. Of course, Calvert-Lewin is flagged, so that is a bit risky. CR7, 99% will start. I don't know about 99%, but yeah, I think he is. I think more likely to start than maybe a lot of people think. Hi Dylan, my transfers I want to do tonight are Bruno, Ings, Wilson will drop in price to Jota will rise in price, Ronaldo and Jimenez, it will be a -4. What are your thoughts on Jimenez? I think for the next... Oh yeah, true, by the way, put Scott Carson in. Yeah, great point. I did actually forget about him, that's a good point. Although he does cover a Man City spot. Jimenez for the next 10 game weeks, Alpha, is a really good option. Personally, I prefer Antonio and Calvert-Lewin and one of the premium forwards. But outside of these kind of options I just discussed, I think Jimenez is the best one, especially with Wilson out. Let's see. So, yeah, let's go for Carson. Great shout. I actually completely forgot about that situation. Of course, if Brazil do a U-turn, then Carson won't play, and you've kind of wasted a City spot there. But I don't really... I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe we'll have to wait another month or two until we start getting 2 or 3 City players in. But this is something you can go for. It's not perfect. You can move Semedo on to Marcel, maybe even just a Dye or another defender. You can move Christensen to Shaw if you want someone else with a bit more attacking potential. If you want more money to spread around your team, you could sacrifice Trent, but I want him personally. Ben White isn't perfect, to be honest. You can go for Duffy instead. If you have enough money, maybe get a Spurs defender alongside Semedo or Marcel, and you can go that way. I just like having Benrahma in right now because he's got a great fixture in Game Week 4 and you can move him on to Rafinha in Game Week 5. I think it makes sense. Of course, you'd probably have to find a bit of money, at least in my case. I've got 0 million left in the bank and I know a lot of people would still prefer to have Ronaldo than Lukaku. I completely understand that. I'm just showing a different type of team because I've already got a lot of drafts in there where Ronaldo has featured, and of course, he is a bit of a kind of doubt at the moment. Jota -4 or Torres free. I'm facing the same situation, Luca, and I'm tempted by Jota -4, but then again, do you have to take a -4 for Jota? I'm not too sure about that, and Torres is still a good option. Saiss, better than Semedo, yes or no? I mean, Semedo's slightly cheaper. The reason why I'd probably say Semedo is as good, if not better, is because he's slightly more nailed. But other than that, assuming they're both relatively nailed, I'd probably prefer Saiss, but because of nailedness being a factor, if that's not a word, but just said that, I'd probably go for Semedo. My only doubt is that DCL has scored 3 goals in 3 games and Jimenez has scored none. True, but look at who Wolves have played, and they've also massively underperformed. Jimenez has assumed a more creative role for Wolves. The main concern I'd have with Jimenez is him being kind of banned by Mexico, but it looks like he's going to play. I think Bruno Laga pretty much said, I think he's going to be available for us. But yeah, obviously, don't try to think too much about what's happened before. You want to kind of identify future trends, what could happen based on the kind of underlying stats, the things you don't really see with the goals and assists. But of course, Calvert-Lewin, in my opinion, is a better option than Jimenez. I'm not going to argue that. Ronaldo or Lukaku? In Game Week 4, based on Ronaldo potentially not starting, I'd say Lukaku, but I think they're both good options. And over the next 3 game weeks as a whole, you'd say Ronaldo, and then you can switch him onto Lukaku. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Juan. Hey guys, need help. I need 2 midfielders for 12.7 million combined. Okay, good question. Maybe Torres and Gray, potentially. If you need 2 good midfielders, that's what I'd consider. What about Jota, Pogba and Mo Salah in the same team? I'm not too keen on Pogba, especially with Ronaldo coming in. Pogba could play as a pivot again. Sancho or Rashford, when he comes back, plays on the left. So I'm not too keen about him. If we make transfers with hits now, then wildcard, will hits be cancelled? Yes, Alpha, they will be cancelled and you don't lose any points. Vardy from Game Week 5 as a differential? Potentially, but I'm just not really too convinced. I'd prefer Ronaldo, Calvert-Lewin, Jimenez, Antonio, Lukaku, the list goes on. But of course, he is still a good option. Bruno or Salah for Game Week 4? I prefer Salah. Thoughts on Kane? If you have him, hold him, don't get rid of him. But if you don't have him, I wouldn't get him in right now. Still having Mahrez, should I transfer him out this game week? I probably would anyway. I think he can do well against Leicester, but it's just too many headaches. Kane as captain or Salah? I'd go for Salah, but Kane is a nice differential in my opinion. He's got a great record against Palace. Torres and Shaw or DCL and Ayling? Great question. As a duo, Torres and Shaw is better. Ban lifted on Jimenez, exactly, Yogesh. I did refer to that, but of course, Bruno Laga wasn't completely convinced, but it seems far more likely that Jimenez is going to play compared to the Brazilians. Torres, Mount, Sarr or Traore for -4? I'd go for Torres probably. Yeah, Jimenez is clear to play. Yeah. Either way, I'm not going to be going for Jimenez. He's just someone that I recommend outside the kind of usual suspects. Damn, so many comments in today. Really appreciate it, guys. Apologies if I haven't answered any of your questions. And if I haven't, you can also leave them down in the comment section. And after this video, I can get back to you lot. And also, you can contact me on Twitter and Instagram. Dylan_RCM is the same as YouTube. Should I play Rafinha or Ings this game week? Rafinha won't be playing Emil as things stand. So I just play Ings. Tsimikas will start because Robertson's a doubt. Is he? Is Robertson a doubt? Okay, I need to check that. If he is, then obviously... that'd be a bit surprising. It's not something I've heard anywhere. But yeah, let me check. Is Robertson a doubt? I'm not sure about that, but yeah, maybe you are right. By the way, yeah, that was the wildcard team I kind of showed. Christensen would be in there. But let's reset this. No hits taken. And this is how my team is looking like at the moment. I'm thinking of getting Torres or Jota in, remember? And yeah, Jota, Torres, potentially. Calvert-Lewin, Lukaku or Ronaldo up front, and maybe a Wolves defender in for Tsimikas. And we've been going on for over 2 hours. I'm going to be ending the stream soon, but really appreciate everyone who's been joining in. It's been one of the more popular live streams to date, so really appreciate everyone tuning in. I'll try to answer any remaining questions. Duffy or Soufal, who to start? I would probably go for Soufal, but not much in it. Force on dropping Trent to fund for Lukaku is something to consider, but I would rather have Trent. DCL Richarlison, DCL for me. Rudiger or Shaw. Long term, I prefer Rudiger, but for the next 3 game weeks, I prefer Shaw, and then you can move him on to Rudiger. Robbo is fit, he is not a doubt. Yeah, fair enough. How do you think to take a risk of -12 points? Yeah, I wouldn't take a -12 if possible. I try to have a -4 max. That's just the way I see it, because with a -12, you're just going to be pushed back so much, especially if you're in a really high rank right now. You're going to be pushed right down, and of course you might start panicking and then making bad decisions. That's just the way I see it, of course. Captain Salah or Lukaku? I'd actually be tempted to captain Lukaku, but Salah's a really good choice this week. I got a feeling Oli might be playing mind games with Ronaldo. Yeah, I mean, it'd be a bit weird if he plays mind games on his own player, but I get what you mean. I'm guessing you're saying playing mind games in general with the public and building the anticipation of if is he going to start, is he not. That's true. That's completely true. Bamford or DCL? I like Bamford a lot from Game Week 5 onwards, but I prefer DCL overall. 6.5 million midfielder only for this week. I'd say Ismaila Sarr is my kind of pick there. Jota, or actually also an Arsenal midfielder potentially. Saka, Smith Rowe or Odegaard. But I'd probably say Sarr is my pick. I have Rafinha. Should I take another hit to do Rafinha to start? If you have enough depth in your defence and midfield, I wouldn't worry about it and just play Rafinha from Game Week 5 onwards. Torres and Lukaku versus Sarr and Ronaldo. Great duos, to be honest. I actually prefer Torres and Lukaku as a duo, though. Ronaldo definitely starting, fair enough. Robertson played 4 games in 11 days, so he is a doubt. Yeah, that is true. A journalist did mention that recently, but Robertson is, he's got great fitness. He can play most games, and he's done it before in the past, but of course he's just come back from an injury. That is the concern, and Tsimikas doesn't deserve to be dropped, so I can see why. Varane, Shaw and Wan-Bissaka in the same defence. I wouldn't triple up on United defence. And as for them free starting in real life, obviously, I think, yeah, it's a good defence United have. They will be much better than they were in seasons gone by. Start Tierney or Dyer? I'd start Tierney for sure. Yeah, Child Pranksters, I did answer your question already. Ronnie captain this week. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it is risky, but I think risk can pay off. And personally, I think Ronaldo still has a great chance of starting, but I can't tell you that for sure. Captain Salah or Ronaldo? I'd probably go for Salah because with Ronaldo, there's a slight doubt of him starting. Sarr, Adama or Gray? I prefer Sarr, but I also like Gray and Adama, to be honest, but I prefer Sarr from those three. Torres or Grealish? And yeah, Christopher, that's a good shout, by the way, with Benrahma. Torres or Grealish? I prefer Torres. Wildcard active, is it a mistake or not? I mean, it's a team-dependent question. I'm not going to tell people it's a mistake to wildcard or not, but I just prefer waiting a few more weeks, having more data and information, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It could play off for you. Jota or Torres? I prefer Jota, mate. Yeah, Torres for me over Grealish, as I said before. Should I have Gray with a good bench? Yeah, I answered this question, Anze. I'd rather have Jota with a bad bench, but always try to have one decent option if possible. Have a bit of squad depth. Should I keep Rudiger? I have Tsimikas benched. I don't have any free transfer. Yeah, I mean, taking a hit to get rid of Rudiger ahead of Villa, I wouldn't do that. I'd keep Rudiger. What are your transfer plans in this moment in time? Honestly, they're all over the place. I'm thinking of either getting Jota or Torres in for Fernandes, Calvert-Lewin, Lukaku or Ronaldo in for Ings, and depending on what I do there, so let's say I get Ronaldo in for Ings and I get Jota in for Fernandes, I'd probably get Marçal or another Wolves or Spurs defender in for Tsimikas. So those are my transfer plans right now. I'll be confirming this later on today or tomorrow before the deadline in the community tab. So subscribe to the channel and you will be informed of my late decision. Who should I start? Soufal, Duffy? I'd start Soufal. Duffy or Cody? I'd actually start Duffy. Sarr or Sanchez in net? If you have both of them, I'd probably start Sanchez, but not much in it. Son update. Nuno wasn't too confident about him starting this week based on, what he said. He wasn't completely clear about it, but he just didn't seem too positive about the situation. So it's likely that he will miss out in Game Week 4. Not completely certain. And he should be back by Game Week 5 or 6 anyway. Lukaku over Ronaldo, right? No right or wrong there, but I think in Game Week 4, Lukaku is likely to outscore him, assuming that Ronaldo doesn't start. Bamford or DCL? I prefer DCL. Do you do Sky Sports Fantasy Football? Casually, to be honest. I've got good ranks in the past. I don't remember them, to be honest, because I'm a very casual Sky Sports Fantasy Football manager, but I've done well in the past. And yeah, I've been doing really well so far this season, I believe, especially the first 2 game weeks, but just, yeah, I mean, I just haven't really been giving it too much thought, really, and there's the overhaul, of course. Chilwell or Alonso? Really tough question. At this moment in time, of course, Alonso has been better, but there could be a rotation between the two. Jimenez or Calvert-Lewin? I prefer Calvert-Lewin. Adama or Rafinha? Long term, I prefer Rafinha, but for Game Week 4, Adama's better. Do I keep Rafinha? If you have enough cover, then yeah, I would do that. Chris, are you okay, my guy? Yeah. There's no point spamming the chat. The questions won't be answered there. Jimenez or Calvert-Lewin for long term? I still prefer Calvert-Lewin, but Jimenez, great fixtures up until Game Week 14 too. Calvert-Lewin until Game Week 12. I just prefer Calvert-Lewin, but both great options. Who you captain? Salah? Most likely, yeah. Unless I bring in Lukaku and I captain him, I think I'm going to be captaining Salah. Antonio is tempting me slightly. But yeah, even if I bring Ronaldo in, I'm not too sure about captaining him. Keep or sell Rafinha? Yeah, I'd keep him if possible. Ronaldo or Lukaku? Keep Torres or sell? I'd definitely keep Torres right now. I wouldn't be getting rid of him. And as for Ronaldo or Lukaku, ultimately depends on what you think about Game Week 4. Is Ronaldo going to start in your opinion? If so, then I go for Ronaldo and then get Lukaku in Game Week 7. Shall I change Calvert-Lewin for Jimenez? I wouldn't be getting rid of him because if Calvert-Lewin starts, he's got a great chance of doing well against Burnley. Sarr, Trent, Semedo, Dyer, Salah, Jota, Torres, Gray, DCL, Ronaldo, Antonio. Any thoughts? Anything I should change? Not anything that is kind of standing out to change. Obviously, Gray is decent cover for DCL. It's a really good team, to be honest. Gray isn't the type of player I would want starting in my team most weeks, but he's been really good so far, so that's a really good team. You think DCL fit for the game? I mean, he's been flagged all season pretty much, and he's still played. I think he is. But if not, he's going to come off the bench. That's pretty much the situation. Thoughts on Salah's triple captain? Very bold, but could work out. I prefer triple captaining in a double game week, but then again, it's always these kind of single game weeks where a player like Salah can do the business. And remember, last season 20 points against Leeds, albeit it was at Anfield. Do I bring in Semedo? I think he's a great option, around 4.9 million, or a potentially great option, should I say. If you have enough money, I'd go for it. But if you have more money, I'd probably prefer Christensen. Torres or Jota, and why? I prefer Jota because Firmino's out and he's more nailed than Torres at this moment in time. And also better fixtures. City actually have some really tough ones coming up, including Chelsea and Liverpool, I think. And yeah, that's pretty much just kind of my reasoning. So for the next 3 or 4 game weeks at least, Jota is better. Thoughts on Bamford? Great fixtures from Game Week 5 onwards, but I do prefer right now DCL and Antonio. Thoughts on Sarr long term? I think when the fixtures turn for the worse once again, I just wouldn't be too keen on him, and then you can move him on to Rafinha or someone else. But for now, he's good. Aubameyang in the team and captain, thoughts? Great differential potentially. I think he could score 2 or 3 against Norwich, but he's not someone I would want in my team going forward. I appreciate your work, mate. Thank you, mate, so much. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you again in future streams. Should I keep Kai Havertz? Did I even say it right? I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. Kai Havertz. I wouldn't be getting rid of him ahead of Villa, but going forward, you could maybe move him on to a Torres, Greenwood or Jota, or maybe a Rafinha or I don't know, Sarr, Adama Traore, and then use that money and reimburse your attack, or maybe another midfielder spot, to be honest. Hamilton or Verstappen, says Robin. Great question. Verstappen for me. You know, don't get me wrong, look, Hamilton's a great driver, one of the best of all time, but I'm just tired of Mercedes and Hamilton winning every year. I want something different, and Verstappen is looking really good at the moment, but of course it was Bottas, no, who got pole today. They're doing a different type of qualifying. They're doing the sprints and stuff, I think. I didn't actually watch, but yeah, Verstappen's my answer. Do I bring in Pogba? I wouldn't bring him in. Triple captain worth it? Depends who you triple captain, but I would probably save it for a double game week, or just a week where we have a bit more clarity in terms of, you know, different situations. Thoughts on Traore? Great underlying stats, great fixtures long term, but very poor finishing, and his league best in a season is 4 goals. So bear that in mind. I expect him to potentially get 5 or 6. One thing we have to consider is that in years gone by, he's never had great expected goals figures. This season he does. So despite the fact that I think he's a poor finisher, he hasn't had too many clear-cut chances in years gone by. He has this season. He looks really good in Bruno Laga's system, so he's someone to consider for sure, but I'm probably going to be waiting first. Traore or Sarr long-term? Long-term, Traore, admittedly, but I prefer Sarr for the next few. You should hit 5k today, says Mills. Thank you very much. I mean, I haven't actually checked. Basically, I'm looking at the stream right now to answer all the questions, and yeah, it still says, basically nothing's updated. It still says I have 10 likes, but obviously if I update it, we'll probably have more. Yeah, wow, 142 likes. Really appreciate it, guys. And yeah, 4.8k. I don't know about 5k today, but maybe in a few weeks, of course. Really appreciate everyone who has supported the channel. Traore or Rafinha? Long term, I prefer Rafinha, but bear in mind he's going to miss out in Game Week 4. My midfield, Salah, Greenwood, Havertz, Jota, Benrahma. Should I change any for this game week? I wouldn't get rid of any of them this week, but going forward, Havertz is the one I'd probably look to get rid of. What you could do in Game Week 5 is move Benrahma to Rafinha, and Havertz you can move on to either Torres or someone else, maybe Adama Traore or Sarr. Yeah, no spamming, please. Is Marcel 100% playing? Not 100% playing, but I think he will start. Bruno to Torres or Greenwood, Benrahma or Fornals, and will Ronaldo start? Very tough questions you ask. There's not much in it between Benrahma and Fornals, in my opinion. I think Fornals is more of a differential. I think he could be a really good pick. I don't know. There's something. I have a good feeling about Fornals and Bowen if they start. Benrahma, though, he's still, you know, we can't expect him to produce what he did in the first 2 game weeks every single week. But yeah, both good options. If I'm being honest, I'm kind of torn on those two. As for Bruno to Torres or Greenwood, I'd probably prefer Greenwood in Game Week 4, but after that, he could be more of a rotation risk even than Ferran Torres. So it's a tough one. I'd probably say Bruno to Greenwood and Benrahma, but really tough one. Marcel, Cody or Semedo? I'd say Semedo because he's the most nailed, then Marcel, then Cody. Also, Jota or Morris for this game week? I prefer Jota. Is it too early for a free hit considering I have Rafinha and Danny Ings? I try to save it if possible. It could be really useful in navigating a blank or double game week. Greenwood in for Rafinha for a hit. Yeah, I think it could pay off this game week, but going forward, Rafinha has better fixtures, and also he's going to be nailed. Greenwood's going to be in and out of the team potentially, so I think for this week it's worth it, but going forward I'm not so sure. Rafinha for Jota, if you can do that without a hit, then yeah, go for it, and then you can bring Rafinha in for someone else, in game week 5 onwards really. Are you bringing in Ronaldo? If I do, I haven't settled on it, mate. I'm either bringing him, DCL or Lukaku in, Ferran Torres or Jota in midfield, and potentially another defender. And yeah, those are the kind of transfers I'd make. I'd get rid of Tsimikas, Fernandes and Ings, at least 2 of them, potentially. So yeah, and I could even take a -4. Tanganga or Cody? Probably Cody, because Tanganga has poor fixtures coming up and also could lose a spot to Emerson Royale. Do you think Ronaldo will start tomorrow? I think he will, but honestly, I also wouldn't be surprised if he comes off for maybe 30 minutes. Keep or sell Grealish? Depends how many free transfers you have available, but I still think Grealish can do well. He's just not someone I'm too keen on right now. He's ticking along nicely, but City are scoring 10 goals and he's only getting a goal and an assist really. Start White. Yeah, I am starting White at the moment. He's in with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Shaw, Salah captain, Benrahma, Bruno Fernandes, Greenwood, Tony, Antonio, Ings, and Sanchez in goal. I'm most likely going to be moving Ings out for Lukaku, Ronaldo, or DCL, and obviously depending on what I do. So if I get in one of the premium forwards, Bruno Fernandes will become Ferran Torres or Jota. And if I do get Jota, I will also get rid of Tsimikas because I have 3 Liverpool players. Reguilon or Rudiger or Christensen? I'd go for the Chelsea... Whoa, geez, a voice crack. Oh my God. I'd go for the Chelsea defenders. Rudiger's more nailed, so if you have enough money, maybe go for him. But Christensen is fairly nailed at least. I'd prefer them over Reguilon. Play 2 or 3 strikers preferred in FPL. Not really a particular kind of formula. Both are fine. At this moment in time, I prefer playing 3, especially with the premium forwards we have at our disposal. Remove Tsimikas for who? In my situation, I'm thinking of Marcel, Dyer, Cody, these sorts of players. But if you have enough money, I'd recommend Semedo or Tierney potentially. Is Pepe a good option? I think for Game Week 4 he is, but Arsenal are just so inconsistent. I'm not too sure about him. Thank you, Yogesh, for the super chat. Really appreciate it, mate. Thoughts on why Ollie not simply saying Ronaldo starts? That's a great question. Everyone was saying before the press conference that Ollie's going to, be completely, honest with us. He always is. He's kind of not like a Pep or something. He's going to kind of say how it is. We should have a better idea at least. But we just have even more, doubts. So, yeah, that's a really good question you make. I don't know why, honestly. I think he just wants to troll us and kind of prove the people wrong. The people who said that he's kind of just open in press conferences. But, yeah, we can take it in different ways. That's the thing. Ronaldo's definitely going to start, or he's going to come on at some point. When is that going to be? No one knows. But thank you for the super chat once again, Yogesh. Really appreciate it. You didn't have to, mate, but really appreciate it. Sarr or Traore, even both. Personal opinion, I prefer Sarr, but Traore long term is probably the better pick. Best 3 captain picks for this week. I covered that in my preview. Assuming Ronaldo starts, he's still in my top 3. And then I'd say Lukaku and Salah. But Antonio, also really good. Kane, you can't forget about them. Rock and Roll with a super chat. Thank you very much. Really hope you do well this week. When do you plan to do a video not live for Champions League? So I've done a first draft and tutorial video, but I'm going to be doing a team selection probably in the weekend. And the thing is that with UCL Fantasy, we obviously don't know everything up until the Monday, really, because there's still games being played on Saturday and Sunday. So if I do a team selection video early, there might be some stuff that changes. So I might make 1 or 2 more videos. And if possible, I'll be doing a deadline stream on Tuesday. I'll let you guys know, of course. And that will be an hour or 2 before the deadline. Most likely an hour and a half to an hour. And yeah, that's pretty much the answer to that. But yeah, UCL Fantasy video should be coming this weekend, if not on the Monday. I really appreciate the super chat, mate, once again. And good luck with Game Week 4 too. Ayling and DCL or Shaw and Torres? Shaw and Torres for me as a duo. Thoughts on Salah set and forget season captain? I wouldn't necessarily do that because there are some fixtures like City away where you probably wouldn't want to do that, but really good. Obviously, if there's any player to set and forget captain, he's one of them. He's just so good on FPL. Deadly4U2 says, "Hi Dylan, I'm Tony. Please can you share your thoughts on my wildcard team? Sanchez, Cody, Trent, Rudiger, Jota, Greenwood, Salah, Benrahma, DCL, Antonio, Lukaku, Sissoko, Amati, Duffy." Really good team, to be honest. I think Amati you could just change to Livramento or Williams. I'd be a bit concerned about your squad depth defensively, but that's still fine. I think so long as Duffy starts, you should be pretty fine there. But I'd definitely move Amati on. And Benrahma, you can move on to Rafinha in game week 5 onwards. So you're pretty set there if you have a bit more money in the bank. And the rest looks really good, to be honest. It's a fantastic team. And thank you for your comment. Guys, is DCL fit? He's not confirmed as fully fit, but he should be in the squad. My gut feeling is he's going to start, but he might even come on off the bench, for 20-30 minutes. Tierney or Digne? Digne has better fixtures long term, I think. But for game week 4, I think Tierney's better. Schmeichel or Begovic? Not too keen on either of them, to be honest. I'd probably say Schmeichel. But not for this week, though. Not this week. Will Son play? I don't think so, mate. Shall I bring in Ronaldo? If you back him to start, then bringing him in because he could do extremely well. Ronaldo will show this week. Yeah, he could do rock and roll. He could. Is Nicolas Pepe a good option? Abdul, I did answer your question earlier. I think he can be a very good option in game week 4, even in some of these really good fixtures for Arsenal, but I don't trust Arsenal enough. Benrahma, Sarr, or... In game week 4, Benrahma is actually a really good pick, potentially. There's also Fornals, there's Traore. But long term, I'd probably say Traore is, looking really good with the fixtures. Still online, Dylan, mad dedication. Yeah, to be honest, there's so many people. I'm trying to answer as many questions as I can. There's new ones coming in, new viewers, so I want to answer. Really appreciate you tuning in once again, mate. Ben White's price is going down soon. Should I bring him in for game week 4? Yeah, I can see what you mean. If you're not really going to suffer from any potential price drops yourself, you could just wait until 1 or 2 a.m. UK time today for the price rises and drops to happen. And then if Ben White drops, you save 0.1 million. And also, I think it's just better to leave the transfers late with international breaks, if possible. DCL plus Lukaku or Jimenez plus Ronaldo on the wild card. I'd probably go for DCL and Lukaku. I just prefer that as a duo. What about Calvert-Lewin? I think he's not confirmed as fully fit. I think he's going to start, but I couldn't tell you with certainty really. But I think he will play. Best midfielder under 6.5 million. To name a number of them, I'd say Benrahma, Fornals, Sarr, Traore, Damari Gray, and also Podence. If he comes into the team at 5.5 million, he could be really good. Harrison or Gray? I think looking long term, they both have good fixtures long term, to be fair. Damari Gray has been better so far this season, but I think Leeds will come, I don't know about come good, but they will improve. I'd probably go for Gray at this moment in time, but Harrison, don't underestimate him. Thoughts on Saka? Really good for game week 4. I'm not sure about him long term, and he can have a very good game and not get assists or goals, really. White or Livramento for game week 4? I'd go for White. How have you not got Ronaldo? I haven't made any transfers, mate. That's why. I might get him in. If not, it will be Lukaku or Calvert-Lewin, and I might get Jota or Torres in midfield. And of course, if I get Jota, I'd have to get rid of Tsimikas as well. Who to captain? I'd say anyone between Salah, Antonio. If you fancy Bruno, go for it. But I probably would steer clear from him. Maybe even Ronaldo, potentially. Just a personal opinion because I'm not completely sure if they're going to start. If you've got Kane, he's someone to go for. If I had to narrow it down to 3, based on certainty of starting and all of this, I'd go for Salah, Antonio and Lukaku. They're my top 3 picks right now. Does Duffy worth a transfer as a White replacement? I wouldn't get rid of White right now. I think he can outscore Duffy in game week 4. What do you think will excite the fans more? Ronaldo in the starting 11 or a 60-minute sub-in? That's a great question. I think coming off the bench, in terms of a reception anyway, he's going to get much more noise. But either way, I think Old Trafford will be rocking. Semedo versus Tierney. Game week 4, I expect Tierney to outscore him, but long term, Semedo has better fixtures. And I think Wolves have been more impressive this season so far, despite both of them being on 0 points. I'd probably say Semedo just about, but Tierney, remember he created 6 chances against Brentford Odegaard or Gray? I prefer Gray. Will Rafinha start? He won't be starting at this moment in time unless Brazil change their stance. Okay, you legend. What about Sarr? Yeah, I think at 5 million, he's probably my goalkeeper of choice, and if not, just go for Sanchez. I wouldn't be going for 5.5 million keepers or above, personally. Lloris, Sanchez or Alisson in goal? I'd go for Sanchez. Remember, Alisson is probably not going to play for Liverpool this week because of the Brazilian 5-day rule that they triggered through FIFA. Do you think White will outscore Wood? I think in this game week, potentially, yeah, he's more likely to get 6 points and not blank. What's the best player for how much they're worth? So far this season, a bit of a simple answer. I'd say Antonio. You know, he's getting goals, he's getting assists, and he's got the underlying stats to sustain this for a long period of time. Rudiger's nailed, but too expensive for low ceiling without much attacking returns. Yeah, it's a bit similar to Diaz, to be fair, but yeah, you could always go for Christensen, but he's going to be benched a bit more often. Will Son start? I don't think so, mate, but it's not completely set in stone. Thank you, everyone who has tuned in. Apologies if I haven't answered any of your questions. Remember, you can put them in the comment section, and after I have my dinner, I'm having a very late dinner, I will be going through the comments and answering any questions you have. So once again, thank you so much to everyone who subscribed, everyone who smashed the like button and shared this video around with people who love football, UCL Fantasy, FPL. There's going to be more FPL and UCL Fantasy content coming to the channel. In regards to my team, I'll be confirming my team selection very soon, either tonight or tomorrow morning. I still need to fully settle. I've got a lot of ideas, as you can see, but nothing set in stone. Really appreciate all the support, guys. Remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you want to contact me there as well. And every week I try to rate people's teams in streams and also videos. So you can send in your teams, you can send a clean cropped image, and I can also just make a weekly video there rating your teams like I did this week. If you haven't already, check out all my other videos regarding the wildcard, the free hit, and also just my team selection and all of this stuff. I also made a preview where I broke down every fixture, the best players from each one, and also gave my score predictions and my top 5 captaincy picks, although there have been a few changes in terms of the rankings potentially now with Ronaldo potentially not starting. Who knows? My gut feeling says he will start, but if not, he's going to be coming off the bench for sure, and Calvert-Lewin could be something similar. But thank you very much for everyone who tuned in, and I'll see you next time.